It's about truth. It's about disclosure. It's about transparency. And if it means that I don't get my day in the spotlight, then that's okay, because it's not about that. It never was about that. I didn't leave the Department of Defense because I wanted my day in the spotlight. I left the Department of Defense, ironically enough, to finish the very mission they gave me in the first place. I didn't ask for it. I'm not a UFO guy. I'm not a ufologist. I never have been. I never will be. I'm a counterterrorism and counterespionage guy. I do counterintelligence, counterinsurgencies. That's what I do. And it just so happens that in 2008, I was asked to apply those same skill sets into the UFO community. But I'm not a UFO guy. And so for me, it's all about the truth. Whether I'm hunting a terrorist or a spy or a UFO, the bottom line is the truth is the truth. I'm a counterterrorism and counterespionage guy. I do counterintelligence, counterinsurgencies. That's what I do. And it just so happens that in 2008, I was asked to apply those same skill sets into the UFO community. The bottom line is the truth is the truth. I'm a counterterrorism and counterespionage guy. I do counterintelligence, counterinsurgencies. That's what I do. And it just so happens that in 2008, I was asked to apply those same skill sets into the UFO community.
My name is Jim Semivan. I'm a retired CIA officer. I worked as a spy for 25 years in the CIA's clandestine service. Had a wonderful career there, enjoyed it very, very much. Was lucky enough to be a member of the Senior Intelligence Service. I currently consult with the intelligence community on a part-time basis. I was born and raised in Ohio. Went to school at Ohio State, got a couple undergraduate degrees, left and eventually went to San Francisco, where I got a master's degree in English literature at San Francisco State University. Working at the Central Intelligence Agency is a unique experience. You get in and you're very highly trained. You're working with a group of people that are usually very, very smart. They tend to be very, very bright and from any number of areas. You can have somebody working next to you with a PhD in French literature. The young woman working on the other side of you has a master's degree in business or perhaps a law degree. In the clandestine service, you're training to be a spy. It's a lot of work. It can be a lot of pressure, particularly when you're starting out, because you're with a group of people that generally tend to be highly, highly motivated. And so you have to sort of keep up with everybody. It's a lot of fun. They do train you very, very well. Working as a spy is always interesting. Somebody once described it as 95% boredom and 5% sheer terror, and I think that's pretty much accurate. They give you a lot of testing to make sure that you fit into a certain profile. So I was lucky enough to be in the clandestine service, and I had a very, very nice career.
Greetings and salutations, friends, and welcome back. Had quite an interesting weekend, and we are back on track and ready to attack tonight. And tonight we're going to be expanding on something we have spoken about here, and that is this sort of CIA intelligence community. It would be more accurate to call it an intelligence community infiltration into the UFO community. This has been happening for some time, but I believe that the government-run, what I can only describe as a PSYOP, really began in 2015 and 2016 with the launch of this New York Times article and the subsequent launch, of course, of To the Stars Academy, which was essentially, no matter how you want to analyze it, TTSA was filled with intelligence community members and counterintelligence officers. We had Steve Justice from the Lockheed Skunk Works with massive intelligence ties, Christopher Mellon with massive intelligence ties. All of these people, with the possible exception of Tom DeLonge, who was the Bobo or the clown in the operation, all of them heavily either directly or indirectly tied to the government, and specifically intelligence services like the Department of Naval Intelligence, Department of Army Intelligence. We have Christopher Mellon. We're going to go over all of those specifics in very, very good detail for once. And while the list of intelligence people infiltrating the UFO community that I will present for you tonight is by no means complete, it is the major players from the government who, after 2015, 2016, started infiltrating the UFO community. Now, I realize that some people may think that this is quite conspiratorial thinking, but I caution you to remain open-minded, because there are some indisputable facts which I can present to support my arguments, not the least of which is look at the UFO, major UFO conferences right now. Who are the speakers? Well, it's mostly all government, former government people who worked in the Pentagon, people who worked for OSAP, ATIP, UATPF, or whatever alphabet soup acronym you want to use for a UFO program within the United States government. They are all now working UFO conferences. And we're going to go over the specific names and their histories. But besides the people at the UFO conferences, there are certainly people in the background, those shadowy figures, and some of those I have more interest in. And it is perhaps fair to say that some of the people involved in this infiltration into the UFO community are not front people. What do I mean? I mean they're in the background, directing the front people. And this is very troubling. And, you know, I'm reminded of so many serious UFO researchers who came before the 2015, 2016 intelligence infiltration into the UFO topic, subject, or community. I am reminded of those old school researchers, all of which, it was a unanimous virtually among serious UFO researchers before then, that the government knew more about UFOs, aliens, extraterrestrial visitations, and all of these things than they were telling us. There was a cover-up. One can just look back to 1947. I don't care what side of the fence you're on, what you think that event was. We have verifiable proof of a cover-up and multiple stories to explain the so-called Roswell event. So for 70 years, people serious about getting to the truth about these topics were aware, painfully so in some cases, that there were members of the United States government that were actively trying to cover up the truth about what the phenomenon truly is, what the government knows about it, and more. But it gets deeper than that, because we have virtually on the record proof that the government ran cover programs like Project Blue Book. Essentially, the point of that program was to explain it all away as ridiculous things, swamp gas, and people seeing Saturn. But what many people aren't aware of is that there was a separate and clandestine Blue Book, where any case that might be a matter of national security or related to air defenses, etc., those important cases, like UFOs flying over nuclear bases or UFOs flying over military bases, all of those cases, they didn't go to Blue Book. They went to a separate clandestine version of Blue Book, heavily funded and run by the CIA. So there is a long history of this back and forth. And for 70 years, at least up until 2015, 2016, thereabouts, the prevailing thought on the government telling us the truth was that all they do is lie to us. Lie, obfuscate, cover up, misdirect. And that's all they had done up until that point. But in 2015, 2016, something's going to change because suddenly a washed up rock star whose teeny bopper fans stopped buying albums decided on a new profit venture called To the Stars Academy, whereby they promised everyone a spaceship, and Tom and his CIA friends promised us disclosure. And that is in and of itself problematic, because what happened when TTSA came about is that many so-called UFO researchers jumped on that ship because they were going to make money with that too. And so instead of hard questions being asked of these TTSA people, like, how are you going to build a spaceship, Tom DeLonge, right? Or was it legal to have those 3 videos declassified out of the Pentagon and have Christopher Mellon meet somebody in the parking lot and then ferry them over to TTSA so you all could profit to the tune of millions of dollars from government-owned property? Was that legal? Was that moral? Was that ethical? Nobody asked. Nobody asked, because almost everyone in the UFO community became a UFO circle jerker at that point and decided it was a good idea to get on this CIA disclosure train, because there would be documentaries and television shows and book deals and conferences. And we too can profit from not just allowing these CIA operatives or intelligence operatives into the UFO community, but welcoming them with open arms and hanging seemingly on their every word. And that is exactly what happened. And sadly to say, just about every prominent member of the UFO research community dropped their guard and jumped on the CIA PSYOP TTSA bandwagon. And we had everybody did this, from once respected researchers like Richard Dolan to others, right? Interestingly, if you follow the money, you will find that the people that you see making the most money out of this subject or community are the least trustworthy, the least credible, and have the least true or accurate information. But they've sure got a lot of stories they'll share with you and show you for a price. And boy, we just had Alien Con, and it's time for my annual joke about that. Did they call it Alien Con on purpose? Asking for a friend. I think it's really appropriate that you have literal con artists there at Alien Con who routinely lie to the public, and you charge people money to see these alien consters, right? Amazing. Alien Con. It sure is. Yeah, it's definitely a con. At least that, they named it appropriately. And who do we see at Alien Con? Well, we see intelligence people as speakers, people who work for the Department of Defense, people who work for the Pentagon, right? And their UFO profiteering whore friends who have accepted them, not asked hard questions for years, and instead used these people, milking them for stories to sell you. They have no truth to tell you, but they've got plenty of stories to sell you, and many of their stories are coming straight out of the government. And I don't know about you, but I don't think it's a good idea to trust the government to tell us the truth, especially considering the last few years and how we've all learned how quickly they're willing to lie to us if it meets their agenda, meets their goals. Now, we are going to explore some history here, because history matters. And some people are painfully unaware of the CIA's history of infiltration, and some would say not just infiltration, but takeover of the UFO community and narrative. And so tonight we hope to educate you so you'll know a little more, especially before you pay good money for something called Alien Con. I wonder if they named it that so they couldn't get sued, right? And isn't it interesting that some people have had to change their biographies that routinely speak at these events? Most notably, Nick Pope, who once billed himself as a person who ran the British Ministry of Defense UFO program. Now he's just calling himself a civil servant because so much paperwork has surfaced showing that he just lied and invented a goddamn career for himself as a fake Fox Mulder of Britain. You know, it's wonderful. So we're going to get into the history here. But before we do, I wanted to remind you that, yes, we now have Truthseekers merchandise store. This one's my favorite, just the Truthseekers logo. And there was some issue, apparently, with international shipping on the Amazon store. So the Amazon store, I know a lot of people would prefer to just get it on Amazon, quick shipping, but some countries you can't. So we have a separate storefront for anybody who cannot use the Amazon store. And both of those links are in the description of this video. So there's one way you could support us and get some fine quality merchandise. Now, we're going to start just on the Central Intelligence Agency, because the Central Intelligence Agency has a long and storied history of studying UFOs, or unidentified flying objects, or if you like, the term that I believe the intelligence operation tried to change UFO to UAP, which was once unidentified aerial phenomenon. Now they're retconning that UAP acronym again, and now it supposedly means unidentified anomalous phenomenon. For what purpose? For what reason? Who knows? And while many people associate UFOs with conspiracy theories and pseudoscience, the fact does remain that the CIA has taken the phenomenon incredibly seriously and has conducted a number of investigations into it over the years, dedicating a great deal of time, agents, resources, and money into the topic of UFOs. Now, the CIA's interest in UFOs dates back at least to the early days of the Cold War, when sightings of strange flying objects became increasingly common. And at that time, many people believed that these objects were Soviet spy planes or drones or other advanced technologies. And the United States government, especially the CIA, was eager to understand the nature of that threat. To this end, the CIA launched a number of investigations into UFOs, including the government program Project Blue Book, which was run by the U.S. Air Force from 1952 to 1969. And while the CIA did not run Project Blue Book directly, it certainly provided funding, analysis, and support for the program, and was directly involved in many of the investigations, especially those cases that involved matters of national security. During this time, the CIA collected a great deal of information about UFO sightings and conducted its own investigations into the phenomenon. While the agency has never confirmed the existence of extraterrestrial life or advanced technologies, it certainly did acknowledge that some UFO sightings could not easily be explained. In the years since Project Blue Book ended, the CIA, of course, has continued to study UFOs, and through a number of declassified documents, we can see that they have done investigations into the UFO phenomenon. And some of these documents show that the agency took the phenomenon seriously and was incredibly interested in understanding its nature and its potential implications. One second. Okay, so despite the CIA's interest, however, the CIA has been largely skeptical of claims that UFOs are evidence of extraterrestrial life or advanced technologies. They have been very careful in any public statements or when known CIA agents, assets, or directors are asked about extraterrestrial life. They are very careful in their responses. The agency has focused on apparently understanding the nature of the sightings and determining whether they pose a threat to national security. Now, some sources of mine say that the CIA and other intelligence agencies are incredibly interested in what members of the UFO community knows, even considering it important enough to spend time, energy, and resources in allocating resources to spy on and study those who study UFOs. Today, the CIA continues to monitor UFO sightings and investigate the phenomenon as part of its broader mission, which is apparently to protect national security. And while the agency remains publicly skeptical of claims that UFOs are evidence of alien life or advanced technology, the CIA recognizes the importance of understanding the nature of the sightings and determining whether they represent a potential threat. The CIA also understands the value in understanding what information the public at large knows about or is aware of as far as the UFO file or information about UFOs is concerned. The CIA's history of studying UFOs is fascinating, a little known aspect of the agency's work, but still a major part of its history. The CIA has taken this subject incredibly seriously and has dedicated a tremendous amount of resources and conducted a number of investigations into it over the years. So we see the CIA has this history of being deeply involved. Now, the conspiracy theories abound when you get into this. Some people have theorized or said that JFK, one of the reasons JFK was killed is because he wanted to share information from the UFO files, which was CIA run, with his Soviet counterpart. And they would not allow that. Other people say that JFK was going to release a lot of information from those UFO files, and that may have been a reason, one of the reasons for his assassination. I have been really studying the so-called UFO files that the government has. These so-called clandestine groups that some people call MJ-12 or other acronyms. We have in the 1980s this group of people, some of which were former intelligence, called the Aviary. Most notably among them one Richard Doty, former Air Force Office of Special Investigations. Also, Bill Moore was tasked with literally spying on members of the UFO community for intelligence agencies. And Bill Moore was offered secret files in exchange for his cooperation with spying on members of the UFO research community and letting the government know what the researchers knew about the phenomenon, about the people involved with it, about specific cases, and more. So this intelligence infiltration into the UFO community, it doesn't begin in 2015, 2016, but I would suggest to you that before 2015, 2016, it was clandestine. These operations were handled in the shadows, in secret. They would secretly approach people. We know verifiably from Bill Moore, a one-time well-known researcher. Bill Moore was the Stanton Friedman of his time or the Lou Elizondo of his time. He was the top UFO researcher for a time. So we do know that for a fact that intelligence organizations clandestinely spied on the UFO community, having other members keep notes, and keep tabs on UFO researchers, and then report that information back to those intelligence organizations. We also know in the 80s, Richard Doty was heavily involved in, I would say, being I would say that Richard Doty, for whatever reason, was somehow tasked to be a caretaker of UFO information that would be leaked to the public. And at various times, Richard Doty released information to UFO researchers like Linda Moulton Howe or others. And with his aviary group was largely responsible for a new narrative forming about crash retrievals and aliens being held at secret bases. And Richard Doty, an intelligence officer for Air Force, he always gets upset with me. I'll get a bad email if I don't name him correctly. Richard Doty worked for the Air Force Office of Special Investigations. And apparently, he disseminated UFO information, some of which he claimed was real, some of which he claimed was disinformation. And one has to wonder then, why is the United States government paying someone a full-time salary to literally mess with people and release information about UFOs and aliens? Why would the government do that? It's a good question. And we have some answers if we look a little deeper beyond the surface. But that gets into quite a lot of speculation, and we are going to try to give you just the facts first before we get into those into that speculation. Now, the idea of intelligence agencies infiltrating the media and using it as a tool for propaganda is certainly a troubling one. But it's an actual verifiable fact and a reality that the CIA and other intelligence organizations have infiltrated the media to push certain narratives. It's a reality that has been confirmed by numerous declassified documents and investigative reports. The most notorious example of this project is Project Mockingbird, a CIA operation that ran from the 1950s until the mid-1970s and aimed to influence public opinion and shape the narrative in the media. Now, why would they do that? Well, let's say you're fighting a war like the Vietnam War, and that's a very unpopular war. Well, if you can infiltrate the media and get a lot of stories put out there in the media about this being a righteous pursuit, a righteous endeavor, how we have to continue with this war, you may influence public perception and lighten the tone of the anti-war sentiment that was prevalent in the United States at the time. But it's important to note that Project Mockingbird was just one of the many programs designed by the CIA and other intelligence agencies to influence American citizens directly through the media. They bought people. They bought newspaper writers. They bought media personalities. They bought newscasters. They bought members of the media with bags of cash. They would then give them access to so-called secret government information that they wanted released to the public. And those assets, once purchased, and we're talking at one point in time, the CIA said that they had assets in every major media outlet within the United States. Now let's think about that. How many newspapers are there? Let's just say one for every major metropolitan American city, right? Television stations. Well, at the time you had three big television stations, three big networks, all doing news programs. So they bought somebody from each of those. At the time, you had radio, and it was much bigger of an outlet, and people often got their news from the radio. So they purchased people in that media space. So you've got an intelligence organization within the United States operating on its own without congressional oversight or executive oversight, literally infiltrating the entirety of the American media space. We're talking newspapers, magazines, radio programs, television programs, and more. And some say Hollywood as well. The goals of these programs, so it's important to note that Project Mockingbird was just one of the many programs designed by the CIA and other intelligence to influence us through the media. Other operations included Operation Chaos, which targeted anti-war activists and civil rights groups, and Operation Mockingbird 2, which was a continuation of the original Mockingbird program. And certainly the goals of these programs, they had many identifiable goals, but there was two majorly. The first was to shape public opinion and to gather intelligence by infiltrating the media and influencing what was reported and how it was reported. Intelligence agencies, through these methods and through their purchased assets all throughout American media, could control the narrative and sway public opinion in their favor. They could also gather valuable intelligence by monitoring journalists and other media figures. One of the most notable examples of media infiltration by the CIA was the case of journalist Carl Bernstein, who exposed the agency's activities in a 1977 article for Rolling Stone. Bernstein revealed that the CIA had cultivated relationships with journalists from major media outlets such as the New York Times, CBS, and Time magazine, and had used them to disseminate false information, disinformation, and propaganda in order to shape public opinion. Now, it's important that we realize that the CIA's activities in the media were not limited to covert operations. That's how they began. And you see, it's often been said that a leopard doesn't change their spots. The CIA has a modus operandi that some people, if you study their history, will realize. And one of those methods of operation is that when they begin operations, they are very shadowy and secretive in those operations. But I suppose eventually, after they learn how to work the PSYOP correctly, they get more bold and more public in their use of whatever means necessary to achieve their ends. We have seen it with Project Mockingbird and other of these CIA programs. At first, they are very secretive and clandestine. Eventually, they don't care if you know. They just continue the operation publicly. And one might compare that to the intelligence operatives' infiltration into the UFO community. In the late 80s and early 90s, it was very secretive and shadowy and clandestine. And certainly they were still spying on members of the UFO community. And if we were to believe Richard Doty, and there is other sources for this, the CIA and other intelligence organizations or government organizations literally paid people to go to UFO conferences and write down what everybody said, report back to the higher ups. What are these UFO dorks talking about at these conferences? What do they know? Because we need to know what they know in order to counter it. So the CIA's activities in the media were not limited to covert operations. However, the agency also used front organizations and think tanks to promote its agenda and help shape public opinion. One of those was the Congress for Cultural Freedom, which was funded by the CIA and operated from the 50s to the 70s. The group sponsored cultural events and publications that promoted the agency's anti-communist agenda and sought to influence intellectuals and artists around the world. So the CIA's activities in the media were not without consequences, however, and the agency's reputation was tarnished by the revelations of its media infiltration. It faced widespread public backlash. Some of this stuff started getting out, and the American people did not like hearing that the CIA was literally trying to control public opinion by infiltrating newspapers, radio, television, some say even Hollywood. Interesting that there was indeed a backlash. And today, the practice of intelligence agencies infiltrating the media certainly continues, although it is likely much more subtle and sophisticated than in the past. Having been caught a few times, I believe that they have gone back to being very shadowy and clandestine and subtle in their influences, and not, let's just say, doing anything that would get them caught and embarrass the agency again. And one might, it's important to note too that the rise of social media and other online platforms has made it incredibly easier than ever before for intelligence agencies to influence public opinion and gather intelligence. All you have to do is spend some time on UFO Twitter, and I don't know, maybe it's just me and my background in computer science. There's an awful lot of bot accounts on UFO Twitter. Bot accounts that are constantly posting and reposting UFO celebrity talking points or intelligence asset talking heads that are now within the community. There's all these bot accounts, brand new, nameless, faceless Twitter accounts, constantly posting and reposting clips of things they say. Could that be an effort to influence public opinion? And many of these bot accounts will also defend these intelligence assets that are now infiltrated in the UFO community, should you dare to do something like ask questions about their CIA ties. So the CIA's infiltration of the media through projects such as Project Mockingbird is well established and was a troubling example of how intelligence agencies can certainly manipulate public opinion and shape the narrative within the media. While the agency's activities had been exposed for previous operations and its reputation damaged, most experts in the history of the CIA or in intelligence circles would agree that the practice of media infiltration continues today. And it's up to the public to remain vigilant and demand transparency and accountability from our intelligence agencies. Now, I wondered, like, how is this even legal that the United States government can deploy assets to infiltrate whoever they want? We have it as established fact that they have infiltrated the UFO community. And whether you want to believe that or not, you can put your blinders on and pretend that this stuff never happened, but we're going to go over it all. And I challenge anyone to tell me I'm wrong, because all of these intelligence assets were not here in the UFO community, at least not publicly and right out in the open before 2015, 2016. That marked a change in which instead of doing things in the shadows and trying to control the narrative in the UFO community or spy on people, they send operatives directly in. And many of those operatives are now the top so-called UFO celebrities or stars, speaking at all the conferences, giving all the interviews on major media sites like Fox News or CNN, right? Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp are now going to be working for CNN to bring us the truth about UFOs. Let me know how that goes for you. But one might question, how are they able to legally do that? But as it would happen, it used to be illegal to use propaganda against United States citizens. Or in other words, let me rephrase that so it's clearer. It was once illegal for the United States government to use propaganda or disinformation against its own citizens. But the United States President Barack Obama fixed that because he signed into law the National Defense Authorization Act of 2013, which included a provision that effectively legalized the use of propaganda against American citizens. This provision revealed a long-standing ban on the dissemination of propaganda by the United States government within its own borders. The ban on domestic propaganda, known as the Smith-Mundt Act, was originally passed in 1948 as a way to ensure that the government could not use taxpayer money to influence the opinions of its own citizens. However, in 2012, a bipartisan group of lawmakers sought to repeal the ban, arguing that it prevented the government from effectively countering extremist ideologies and propaganda from foreign governments. While supporters of the repeal argued it would be necessary to protect national security and combat extremism, of course, you got to bring in the terrorists, right? If you need additional powers as a government, just point to those terrorists and people will cave and give you that additional power. Opponents warned it could lead to the government using propaganda to manipulate public opinion and suppress dissent. The Obama administration, however, chose to support the repeal, which ultimately was included in that year's NDAA. And the repeal of the Smith-Mundt Act effectively just allows the United States government to create and disseminate propaganda within the United States. However, it's supposed to only be used when it's directed at foreign audiences. However, there are no clear restrictions on how this propaganda can be used or deployed against the American people. And there are real concerns that it could be used to influence public opinion and, of course, suppress dissent from whoever is at time in power from within the country. And some of the critics of this repeal also have said that this could justify the use of propaganda in ways that are detrimental to civil liberties and democratic values. For example, it could be used to promote government agencies that are unpopular or controversial, or to justify surveillance or other actions that infringe on individual rights. In response to these concerns, some lawmakers have proposed legislation to reinstate the ban on domestic propaganda. However, the efforts so far have been unsuccessful. Listen, one thing I will tell you about any government, it's not just the United States government, but once they get increased powers, they don't want to lay those increased powers back down. Look at the Patriot Act. How many years away are we from September 11th? And yet they still have the Patriot Act. They're still collecting all of this data, information, and more from virtually every citizen in the United States, I guess, right? It's absolutely ridiculous that they're able to just spy on anybody they want. And this is completely and totally legal in our country. I'm going to take some time just to catch up with the live chat. I have more data to share about specific individuals. I know that's why so many of you have come here tonight. It's, I guess a lot of people want to play a game of identify the CIA agent, but it's easier than you think because they're totally out in the open now. They are no longer in the shadows, spying on people quietly. They are no longer doing that. Now, they literally sent in CIA people and Pentagon people to go talk at UFO conferences, right? It's amazing. All right, so let me get caught up to the live chat. Here we go. And Red Panda is asking, is it true Anjali used to work for the BAE? No. Well, I'm not aware of that, but I am aware that she worked for the DIA. That would be the Defense Intelligence Agency. Pardon me. We want to make sure we get that wonderful new shirt in the frame. Details on how you can get one is in the description of the video. So we're going to begin with the TTSA PSYOP clowns. Because by the way, I'm only giving you a small sampling of the CIA and other intelligence agents that are infiltrating the UFO community. And, I was almost hesitant to do this show because we have touched on this subject before, but not as deeply or as many layered as we're going to do tonight. And there's one more person on the list. I'm trying to, there we go. I got it. All right. I didn't want to get somebody's name wrong, so I apologize. So we're going to begin our journey into the CIA. It would be better to say intelligence organization infiltration, because some of these people are certainly CIA or have CIA ties, most of the ones, and those are the ones that I would term are probably the most dangerous, are the people that are either direct CIA employees or were CIA contractors. So in 2015 and 2016, the TTSA CIA PSYOP began. And what happened is Tom DeLonge, a washed up rock star, suddenly And here's what I will say about Tom DeLonge. I know people who worked on a tour with him and said that at the very least, Tom DeLonge is genuinely interested in these topics. But for whatever reason, Tom DeLonge started To the Stars Academy with a whole bunch of CIA people, lots of them. Everybody involved in TTSA was either an intelligence person, former intelligence person, or a defense contractor with intelligence ties. And we're going to begin with everybody's favorite wackadoo scientist, Hal Puthoff. For those unaware, Hal Puthoff was a high-ranking Scientologist, and he was a member of the SRI, the Stanford Research Institute, which many people believe is scammy because the Stanford Research Institute has nothing to do with Stanford University. And some have argued that they named it that way on purpose to make people think that they were credible or connected with the university when they indeed were not. And SRI research took government money and grants and studied many things, all paranormal, like remote viewing, psychic powers, and more. And in fact, if you've seen the movie The Men That Stare at Goats, a lot of that movie was based on Hal Puthoff and Russell Targ and SRI and the research they did into so-called psychics. For a time, the United States government was giving out money to wackadoo scientists like Hal Puthoff and Russell Targ, trying to develop a psychic spy program to employ against the Soviet Union. But what you need to know about Hal Puthoff is that he is a true believing Kool-Aid drinking member of the cult of ridiculousness. One second. Okay, so Hal Puthoff is a Kool-Aid drinking cult member. He believes in Scientology, which means he was a high-ranking Scientology member, which means he believed in Xenu and the Thetans and the body Thetans, and people were thrown in volcanoes and blown up, and yeah, he's that kind of a wackadoo. And I have read some of his physics papers, and I'm not a physics guy. He sounds well-spoken, appears highly intelligent, but you got to remember he's a wackadoo. You got to come from the wackadoo. You got to know right away he's a wackadoo. But Hal Puthoff has run various companies, always begging the public for money for his research, and he wasted perhaps hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars on psychic research. Some of you may be aware, but Hal Puthoff declared Uri Geller's psychic powers as genuine, when it's a verifiable fact now, admitted by Uri Geller himself and others, that Uri Geller was not a genuine psychic, and he was using magician's tricks and sleight of hand to fool the scientists at SRI. And he did so successfully because Hal Puthoff and others at SRI declared that Uri Geller had genuine psychic powers. Uri Geller was a stage magician before he decided that he was a psychic. Uri Geller, years later, would attend magic conferences. There's UFO conferences, there's conferences for magicians too. And at those conferences, many people will speak at, and the little known secret, if you're a magician or in the magic community, is that when you pay to attend the magic conferences, it comes with, you get something. You get to know the secrets of some of the big shots that you admire and respect. And if they stand on a stage and teach their methods of how they do their tricks to other magicians, you're then allowed to use them. You're not until they do that. So if you think UFO conferences are expensive, you should see what it costs to attend some of these magic conferences. But several years ago, I became aware that Uri Geller was attending the International Brotherhood of Magicians international conference. And there he gave lectures and showed all of the magicians present the sleight of hand magic tricks that he used to fool stupid people like Hal Puthoff and others. with just sleight of hand, and literally he was using magic tricks that some children learn at 10 years old, and he fooled Hal Puthoff. So we can see with Hal Puthoff, there is a degree of gullibility there, of wanting so desperately to believe that he's willing to set aside things like scientific method and controls and just declare some wackadoo doing magic tricks has real psychic powers. I believe that Hal Puthoff had to do something. He was taking all of this research money. They had to produce some results. His results was a fake stage magician pretending to be a psychic. That was Hal Puthoff's results. But Hal Puthoff has also been involved in remote viewing research and things that I would call free energy and anti-gravity scams. He was directly involved in several of them, including that Joe Firmage anti-gravity one that we heard about from Brandon Fugal and Stephen Greenstreet. Hal Puthoff, for many, many years now, has had major ties to intelligence and has been sort of the science guy of the UFO community. He has major ties to intelligence, including CIA, DIA, friends in the intelligence community, business associates in the intelligence community, contracts or research from the intelligence community, and more. He also has employees who worked for Bob Bigelow, NIDS, or the government. Hal Puthoff is up to his eyeballs in intelligence area friends. And he was just one member of To the Stars Academy. Then we get to Jim Semivan, who was apparently the partner of Tom DeLonge. Jim Semivan was a CIA covert operative for decades. Verifiably, he was a CIA covert operative for decades. He worked for various intelligence agencies and operations. He has various intelligence community ties and has had jobs working in intelligence for decades. He's a verified CIA agent with decades of experience in covert operations working for the government. And he was the vice president, right, of To the Stars Academy, the partner. Tom DeLonge said, "This is my partner. He's a spy." And then, of course, we got Lou Elizondo out of TTSA as well. Lou Elizondo, former Pentagon counterintelligence, former Army intelligence, Pentagon intelligence. And it's important to note that Lou Elizondo's father worked directly for the CIA. And we have seen that in intelligence communities, family ties are important. It's often multi-generational vocation. I'm going to be a CIA agent like my dad, right? What we do know, and by the way, I don't have verifiable proof. You could try calling the CIA and trying to verify employment if Lou Elizondo ever worked for them. Good luck with that. But what we can verify is that Lou Elizondo was Army intelligence, Army counterintelligence, Pentagon intelligence, Pentagon counterintelligence, and that his father worked directly for the CIA. Also, Lou Elizondo admitted in an interview that he was asked to apply his intelligence and counterintelligence skills into the UFO community in 2008. So who asked him to infiltrate the UFO community? Who asked him to apply his intelligence and counterintelligence skills into the UFO community? That, of course, is something that I'm still trying to answer, because I believe that the people that we are seeing that are the public face of this intelligence industry infiltration into the UFO community, there are some puppet masters somewhere still in the shadows, and I'd like to find them. Next, on TTSA's board, we had Christopher Mellon. Christopher Mellon was a former Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for Intelligence in the Clinton and George W. Bush administrations. And later, he worked in security and information operations for the government. He formerly served as the staff director of the United States Senate Select Intelligence Committee on Intelligence. Christopher Mellon is up to his eyeballs in intelligence connections for the government. He has worked directly for the government in intelligence for many, many years. His family is steeped in CIA stuff. Let's just leave it at that. One of the richest men on planet Earth, Christopher Mellon. What is he doing infiltrating the UFO community? Well, I believe one of the things that he's doing is providing cover for the TTSA techno scam. After all, if you or I stood on a stage and promised people a spaceship if they just invest with my company, and then you produced shit as far as the spaceship, you would be in jail for fraud. But somehow, not one member of the TTSA board has been prosecuted for what can only be described as a CIA techno scam. There's a reason that some people literally committing public fraud crimes do not get prosecuted. Does the government really want to prosecute their own operatives? Probably not. Next, on TTSA's board, we also had Steve Justice, who has massive ties to the intelligence agencies. After all, Steve Justice worked directly for Lockheed Martin Skunk Works. And for you unaware, or who may ask, well, why does that mean he has intelligence connections? Because who makes all the CIA's toys? Lockheed Martin Skunk Works. If you need an advanced aerial vehicle for the CIA to spy on foreign adversaries, you go to Lockheed Martin Skunk Works. You go to Steve Justice. He was the go-to guy. And who knows what manner of CIA toys has been developed at Lockheed Martin Skunk Works. We know the Blackbird and the stealth fighters and other things were developed there, or similar defense contractors. These so-called USAPs, or unacknowledged special access projects, black budget projects. Steve Justice fully involved deeply in all the black budget projects for the defense industry and the intelligence industry. If the CIA needs a hypersonic drone, they're going to Lockheed Martin Skunk Works. They're going to Steve Justice, or they would have while he was still employed there. If they need spy satellites, spy vehicles, or other spy toys of an aerial nature or aerospace nature, they go to Lockheed Martin Skunk Works. They go to Steve Justice. Steve Justice have worked on countless projects for the intelligence agencies while employed at Skunk Works. Again, somebody with deep intelligence ties on the TTSA board, publicly infiltrating the UFO community. Next, we get John Ramirez, who is a retired CIA analyst. And John Ramirez served as a CIA Directorate of Science and Technology, Directorate of Intelligence, and ODNI. National, well, that's a big word, Counter-Proliferation Center between 1984 and 2009. At the CIA, he was the chief intelligence analyst specializing in ballistic missile defense, weapon systems radars, and technical collection activities. He was in the signals intelligence. He was also a signals intelligence expert and multidiscipline collection needs strategist at the NCPC. It's quite a mouthful, his resume here. John Ramirez also served in the U.S. Navy as an electronics warfare technician aboard surface ships from 1973 to 1979. Majored in political science and graduated in 1983. And now John Ramirez is a talking head of the CIA. Why is it that John Ramirez is running around telling people that he was abducted by aliens? And for that matter, there's others doing that as well on this list. Amazing. This man has an incredible and impressive resume, all while working for the CIA or various government agencies involved in intelligence work. Suddenly, after the TTSA PSYOP starts falling apart and Elizondo is floundering, perhaps not getting the proper messages out to the public that this op requires them or wants them to get out to the public, suddenly we have John Ramirez doing podcast after podcast only to the UFO circle jerker crowds who won't ask real questions. People like Project Unity, the circle jerkers, Yeah, Mr. CIA, come on in and tell us all about the truth about those aliens. And here is part of the problem. A CIA asset or CIA employee should not just be welcomed with open arms to come into our community and talk about these subjects. But the UFO profiteering whores like Project Unity, he's a big UFO profiteering whore, one of the biggest one. If there's an idiot that works for the government out there selling disinformation or pushing fake, false information, Project Unity is the first guy to sign up to interview them and help them. He is another bobo, a clown, a useful idiot that think about how many of these CIA people I've talked about was interviewed by him. And the interviews always go the same way. UFO circle jerk. Don't demand evidence. Don't push them. Don't ask them hard questions. Just help them sell their talking points that apparently they're getting from some shadowy organization within the United States, the CIA or otherwise. Project Unity also repeats talking points of all the UFO profiteering whores like Ross Coulthard or others. Incredible that success in the UFO community comes from playing the game and playing along with these CIA assets, with these CIA operatives who have infiltrated the UFO community. These are not your friends. They're not here to tell you the truth. You dummy, Project Unity. How fucking stupid are you, Project Unity idiot? You have used your platform and your influence to help CIA members spread false and fake information. Congratulations, you dummy. I hope the money was worth it. Go on, take the money and run, Project Unity idiot. Now, John Ramirez goes on Project Unity and other podcasts and tells fantastical stories about DNA being recovered from the Roswell crash, or about being abducted by aliens, or about some big event coming in 2027 that's going to change everything, a mass sighting event or alien invasion or whatever. No proof, no evidence. Just trust me, dude, and trust the UFO profiteering whores who have helped in this CIA PSYOP, like Project Unity and others. And by the way, I don't want to beat him up too much. That's how this game is played. Remember, we talked about at the beginning of this broadcast how many members of the UFO community or the UFO researchers literally laid down and welcomed all these CIA intelligence people into the UFO community because they thought they were going to make money from it. They were going to get something from it. Did they think that the CIA was suddenly going to start telling us the truth about aliens? I don't know. If they did, they're stupid for believing that. Interestingly, though, that's how you're successful. If you want to be successful in the UFO community, get all these CIA guys on your show. And I can show you charts and graphs. We can show you the people who have played nice with all these intelligence operatives infiltrating the UFO community. Look at their numbers. Look at the money they're making versus someone like me who's telling you the truth, or at the very least saying, hold on here, not so fast, CIA PSYOP. Can we get some evidence or proof that you're really on the level, or is this another operation designed to manipulate our perceptions or perhaps misdirect us away from things they don't really want us looking into? They want us chasing skinwalker werewolves and dino beavers. They don't want us truly digging into the real mystery. So After John Ramirez, or about the same time, now Gary Nolan's been around a little longer. Gary Nolan is a self-admitted CIA contractor and a UFO profiteering whore. I said it once, I'm going to say it again. Gary Nolan is a UFO profiteering whore. And he's responsible for bringing or helping to bring to us many 100% provably fake stories and narratives into the UFO community, including that Atacama humanoid that Greer and him apparently made millions of dollars off of. Tying Havana syndrome into the UFO community, working for the CIA to spread what is now known perhaps to be disinformation about Havana syndrome. Gary Nolan spreads disinformation or just unproven stories and narratives about alien abductions. He claimed with Ross Coulthart that they had conclusive proof of alien technology. You remember the ball shavings, right? When are we going to get that, Gary Nolan, you liar? Gary Nolan, self-admitted CIA contractor, has pushed more fake stories than perhaps anyone of recent note. And he whored out Stanford University's labs, equipment, prestige, and personnel to help push UFO and alien narratives, all of which were fake. Funny that. Gary Nolan is a snobby academic who is an immunologist by trade. He is not a materials expert. He is not a physicist, but somehow he's tried it out to talk about science and metamaterials, alien crash retrieval, parts and pieces. But he never, to date, has produced any real or verifiable proof that these materials are anything other than normal earthly metal junk that someone is pushing in order to make money in the UFO community. Gary Nolan is especially dangerous, I believe, because he is using the prestige of being a Stanford University professor to achieve a level of perceived credibility. However, look what he gets behind. Ball shavings off of a metal with what is most likely a big ball bearing of totally earthly origin, but he helped Ross Coulthart with that scam Big Bluff. Remember that when they promised the UFO community that they had conclusive proof of alien technology, and they didn't have shit. They really didn't have anything. And it's interesting that Gary Nolan can just admit, yeah, I work for the CIA, right? It's interesting also that he will not really expound on that. You want to give us the agents' names? Can we verify? I don't even know if it's true that he actually worked for the CIA. For all we know, it's just another one of his big bluffs, like the Ross Coulthart bluff, where they said they had conclusive proof of alien technology. Then Gary Nolan gets pissed off when people say they want the evidence that you promised us already. They want the proof. Gary Nolan flips out and says stupid things like this.
They come to me with some of their results, and I basically said these results are shit. So I'm sorry to the people who are so friggin' impatient that they won't get off their butt and go learn this stuff and do it themselves. I'm not your daddy. I'm not here to do things for you. I'm sorry. Get out of your basement and go do something. I've seen some of those snap your fingers reports, and they're garbage. Publish the darn paper. Stop claiming that. This is shoddy work. This can't go anywhere. Who did this? It's crap.
Yeah. And thanks to at Cosmic Judas on Twitter for making this CIA operative a clown. That's how we should treat clowns here. CIA clowns. You don't welcome them in. You don't hang on their every word. You don't repost quotes from them. This is all misinformation and disinformation. Or at the very least, it's worthless information, because all of these CIA people, all of these intelligence assets, where is the evidence? Where is the proof? And our next contestant on CIA PSYOP is Travis Taylor. By 2006, Travis Taylor had worked on various programs for the United States Department of Defense and NASA for over 16 years. He has researched several advanced propulsion concepts, very large space telescopes, space-based beamed energy systems, high-energy lasers, and more. Taylor has also been involved in human intelligence. He's an intelligence guy. Imagery intelligence. Again, he's an intelligence guy. Signals intelligence. Again, I don't know how plainer I can make it for you. Travis Taylor is an intelligence guy. He has also been involved in various projects for the defense industry and government intelligence operations, allegedly involved in secret projects for the government involving UFOs and the paranormal. Taylor was briefly the informal chief scientist on the Unidentified Aerial Phenomenon Task Force, while he was also working for Skinwalker Ranch as its chief scientist, I think. He is also the principal research scientist at Radiance Technology, who Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp are pumping up as the people who are going to do the crash retrieval stuff. But again, where's the evidence? Where's the verifiable proof that there's anything alien? There's lots of clickbait, garbage stuff you can click on. If somebody offered us something alien to back engineer, we would, says Travis Taylor. Great. Glad you made a lot of money off of that big letdown of an article, George Knapp. And by the way, this is how this works. So we've got these intelligence assets, and they're all here spreading either fake information, false information, disinformation, misinformation, or completely and totally worthless information, because none of it can be ever verified, and there's no real meat. Just a lot of potatoes of garbage, right? Rotten potatoes they got, but there's no meat here. So, and then finally, now the newest infiltrator from the intelligence community is Jay Stratton. Mr. Stratton entered senior executive service in September 2018. He has over 32 years of experience in progressively responsible positions for the United States Army, United States Air Force, the U.S. Federal Civil Service. Mr. Stratton is currently the senior analyst, Nimitz Operational Intelligence Center, Office of Naval Intelligence. So another intelligence guy who's being trotted out, pushed into the UFO community. For what? For what? What has he told us so far? And remember that Jay Stratton is somewhat of a wackadoo, because despite his very impressive intelligence industry resume, he claims that poltergeists from the Skinwalker Ranch followed him home and attacked his wife. And I believe he's also an alien abductee, or I might be getting him confused. Interesting that all these people like John Ramirez with incredibly impressive credentials, or Jay Stratton, incredibly impressive credentials on paper, are suddenly infiltrating the UFO community and telling us ridiculous wackadoo stories about alien abductions and poltergeists following him home and attacking his wife, big alien events coming soon, right? The truth about Roswell. This does not make any sense. And I can go on and on with this guy's resume. Joint Warfare Analysis Center, Executive Director, Executive Support with Office of the Deputy of Chief of Naval Operations for Information Warfare. This guy was a specialist in information warfare. And now he's infiltrating the UFO community. He's at Alien Con as one of the big speakers this year. Great. Director of Air Warfare, Nimitz Operational Intelligence Center. This man has a decades-long history of being an intelligence guy. Again, intelligence. Now, not to... we got to include all of the alphabet soup agencies. For example, Anjali. Anjali came out a few years ago with fantastic stories about meeting aliens in a tunnel. And she was going to lead an expedition to get us the truth about those aliens, right? And she had a whole expedition planned. People were voting on who was going to be allowed to go into the mountain and see the aliens. But interestingly, this Anjali character, also known as Angelina Schultz in the real world, you know, not her LARPing fantasy world where she's some kind of alien conduit. Anjali is a former Defense Intelligence Agency employee who worked for the Defense Intelligence Agency not once, but twice. Once as a direct employee and once as a contractor. It's important to note that Miss Angelina Schultz, also known as Anjali, was an analyst and an information warfare specialist. Do you see the patterns now? We've got at least two of these people who specialized in information warfare, infiltrating the UFO community and telling fantastical fairy tales about aliens and UFOs. I find that very suspicious, and you should too. So, along with the list of the intelligence people who are actively infiltrating, overtly, publicly infiltrating the UFO community, we have Ross Coulthart, UFO Jesus, Project Unity, Jeremy Corbell, Richard Knapp, Richard Dolan, Nick Pope, and many others who are actively involved in profiting from repeating the talking points and unproven, unverifiable stories and anecdotes of all the intelligence assets we just went over. And I think that that is a complete and total failure, right? Why? And first of all, Ross Coulthart is a disgraced journalist from Australia. He essentially got laid off or fired from 60 Minutes because he created a hyped up, completely and 100% provably fake story about pedophiles all running the British government. And he got busted. Media Watch called that story, quote, completely and totally inaccurate and false, unquote. He got laid off. He got fired from being a real reporter. So he slides into the UFO community, and you can see it. All Ross Coulthart does is repeat the stories and talking points of all those intelligence analysts, intelligence assets that we just went over. And if we were to go over this list again, well, we'll do that in a moment. Then we've got people like UFO Jesus. He just repeats the talking points of all of these intelligence analysts. And in fact, he deleted the video, but did you know the day after the TTSA conference, media event that was fake because there was no media there? You know, they made a YouTube video. Yeah. The day after that, UFO Jesus came out and called that the day after disclosure. He said disclosure happened when TTSA had a press event, when all those intelligence assets got together to start their PSYOP. The idiot UFO Jesus comes out and says, it's the first day after disclosure. Praise God. The CIA are bringing us disclosure. He was all chips in on it, and he's been all chips in on this PSYOP ever since. And what does he get? He gets rewarded with financial reimbursement for his support. Same for Ross Coulthart. And now we have also Project Unity. And there's other shows, that UFO podcast, Project Unity, and more. Christina Gomez. I don't really, pay too close attention to these people, because as soon as I see that a content creator is pushing the CIA or intelligence op narrative, I shut them off. And so should you. As soon as I see that some of these people are playing along with all of these government employees and intelligence assets, I shut them off, because they sold out all of us for a little bit of money and signed up to help this CIA intelligence asset PSYOP be successful at controlling the entire narrative of the UFO community. And of course, we have George Knapp and Jeremy Corbell, who never heard a fake story they wouldn't repeat if the price was right. And who is it that's bringing us a lot of these intelligence asset stories? George Knapp and Jeremy Corbell. Skinwalker, that's all a part of this. Bob Lazar, oh boy, by the way, there is more and more convincing proof and evidence that Bob Lazar is a complete and total fraud, because apparently today, Signals Intelligence released a piece. We're going to do a show on it. And Bob Lazar's wife, at the time he claimed to work at Area 51, was a convicted felon who was involved in a murder with the Hells Angels, which means that Bob Lazar likely would never have been given any kind of clearance to work on anything government or secret related. Now, I know the mental gymnastics will start, but we'll go over all that separately. Then, of course, we've got people like Nick Pope and other UFO profiteering whores who would just jump right on. Richard Dolan jumped right onto this whole CIA thing, right? All of the so-called researchers in the UFO community, when this whole PSYOP started, they all jumped right on it because they all profited from it. Now, we're going to go over this list again. And let me add Tom DeLonge to the list, even though he was only a bobo, because Tom DeLonge he was the front person of To the Stars Academy until they figured out that he was an idiot, and he ruined a lot of their chances to make a lot of money with that first appearance on Joe Rogan's show, and Joe Rogan provably fake TR3B videos. That's what an idiot he was. So they pulled him back and pushed out others like Elizondo to be sort of the front person of To the Stars Academy until the money started drying up. And I guess it wasn't good enough money. Elizondo jumped ship. Still to this day, none of those UFO circle jerkers that I mentioned, like UFO Jesus or Christina Gomez or that UFO podcast or Project Unity, had the balls to ask Elizondo, where's the spaceship you promised investors, and what happened to all that money? What happened to all the money, Lou Elizondo? No, see, in order to help the CIA PSYOP, you can't point out the problems with it like a real reporter or man with integrity. What you got to do is you got to take those UFO dollars and keep your mouth shut. And that's what all of these people did. And this whole op is coming crashing down soon. That much I can tell you. But we're going to go over this again. So just imagine with me for a moment if we took all of these people and all of their stories and so-called information out of the UFO community from 2015 forward. What if there was no stories or TTSA or narrative from Tom DeLonge, Hal Puthoff, Jim Semivan, Lou Elizondo, Christopher Mellon, John Ramirez, Gary Nolan, Travis Taylor, Jay Stratton now, Steve Justice, Jim Semivan, and Anjali. What if we took all of their stories and their contribution to the world of UFOs out of it? What would we be left with? Well, we'd be left with a whole lot of nothing. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting that if we simply take these intelligence people out of the UFO discussion, there's almost nothing left to talk about? What are we going to talk about? Stephen Greer and his meditating up aliens while he's doing this, right? Stephen Greer is a proven pathological liar. What else we got? Corey Good, that's all been proven to be completely and totally fake. He admitted under oath he'd never been to space. Kind of hard to be a secret space program insider if you've never been to space. So all that falls apart. What else do we have here? Oh, we've got Third Phase of Fake, pushing fake UFO videos that are provably not what they claim they are or pretend they are, accepting 100% provably fake UFO videos and putting them out and pretending they're spaceships when they knew the guy who faked it and how he faked it, even told them, or grift on, what do we got left? Now, I know that And by the way, the opinions expressed here are solely my own, but these are carefully thought about and researched opinions based on years and years of observation, data collection, and more. And as much as I would like to, I have a great deal more information that I cannot share at this time about all of this. But I wanted to get as much as I could on the record today and ask you again this question. If we take away Tom DeLonge, Hal Puthoff, Jim Semivan, Lou Elizondo, Christopher Mellon, and by the way, that includes their underlings. So if we take away Lou Elizondo, then we have to take away, we have to take away Sean Cahill and some of the other hangers-on, right? And we left out a few, but if we take away Travis Taylor, Anjali, Gary Nolan, Christopher Mellon, look, if we take away all of these intelligence people that are injecting this information into the UFO community and into research circles and into the discussion, if we take away all of their stuff from this discussion, what are we left with? Now, if you carefully think about that question, you will see that most of everything talked about in this so-called UFO community, most of it, all of it, has been injected into the discussion or conversation by intelligence assets. And if that doesn't cause you to maybe think a little bit harder about this whole entire thing, then I can't help you. Because if we can clearly demonstrate that there's almost nothing left after we take all this information, inject it in here by intelligence assets, that to me alone is proof that this was an intelligence op, that people were directly, coordinatedly sent in here to do this, and they were successful. And we can tell they were successful because, as I said, if you take all of the people who we detailed to you tonight out of the UFO community, out of the discussion, there's almost nothing left. There's almost nothing left. They have controlled the entire narrative since 2015 and 2016. They have controlled everything we're talking about. They have controlled the information we get, the videos, the still images, and to a lesser extent, remember that some of these people and I mentioned them, like Corbell and Elizondo, like Corbell and Knapp, are not direct CIA employees, but they're assets. Why is Knapp and Corbell getting so-called classified information from classified briefings? It's an op. It's part of an op. So I suppose if we're going to have to take Corbell and Knapp away, that's even less, right? If we include these people like Ross Coulthard, Jeremy Corbell, George Knapp, and other people I believe to be assets that are being used, or they're trying to use these intelligence asset ops just to make money, use them as sources. But if we take all of this away, what are we left with? It's very troubling and sobering and sombering to stop and really think about. If you just take all these intelligence assets, intelligence officers out of the equation, and then you take their assets, and I don't care what anybody says, Corbell and Knapp these people are CIA bobos, right? They're useful idiots. Take those people away, there's almost nothing left here. There's almost nothing. They have controlled the entire narrative for years and years and years now. And sadly, the reason they were able to do this is because of all you UFO profiteering whores. I'm talking to you, Ross Coulthard, UFO profiteering whore. I'm talking to you, UFO Jesus, you, that UFO podcast, you, Project Unity, you, Corbell, you, Knapp, and to a lesser extent, even people like Dolan, Pope, and of course, Jimmy Church. He never met a CIA psyop. He wouldn't help for Listen, can I sell $7 worth of coffee if I interview you? Come on in, CIA guy, right? And interestingly, if you take this out, we've got nothing. We've got nothing, friends. And that is a sad and sobering part. And to those people who don't want to believe that all of these people have been lying to us, just go look up the Gulf of Tonkin. That was an intelligence operation, a false flag event. The government has a long and storied history of lying to its people because of their agendas that they're trying to push. And I believe that we know. I believe that many people know that I'm right about this, especially if you consider what taking all of these intelligence people and CIA people out of the discussion would mean. What are we talking about then? We can't talk about Tic Tacs. We can't talk about Skinwalker Ranch. We can't talk about cross retrievals, right? We can't talk about any of this. It all goes away. And I, for one, am still investigating because there is a purpose behind this. And I believe that I'm getting very close. And new sources are forthcoming. And it's all going to come crashing down. Crashing down. A lot of their stories have been sort of slow motion crashing down for quite some time now. And that will continue. All right, so we're going to take a very short break, but I have to remind you, it's still way early, and I've got plenty more to share with you. So I will put my banner up just to remind you that the show is not over. Sometimes we play these bumpers and people think the show is over. It is certainly not. We'll be back right after this short message about how you too can support the show. And I encourage you to stay put because I'll have more to share in the coming moments. And listen, these bumpers are only a few minutes. It's just to remind you how you could support the show. Because unlike the UFO circle jerkers and profiteering ladies of the night, I don't get paid to help the CIA infiltrate this thing. I don't get paid to help people lie to you, the audience. Other people can't say that. And they should all be ashamed of themselves for what they have done. And this situation full of disinformation, misinformation, misdirection, and lies, all brought to us by the CIA and other three-letter agencies, and made possible by the whores who sold us all out. I haven't sold you out yet, and I need your support to continue and not sell you out.
Truthseekers is a viewer-supported show. Wonderful people like you who enjoy this show send pledges in the form of super chats, super stickers, super thanks, PayPal, or Cash App. Instructions for how to help are in the description. You can also join our Patreon, and for as little as $1 a month you can get extra content. Patreon supporters get a backstage pass, early access to all our production videos before they are distributed publicly, Stephen Campion's music, private writings, a monthly show journal, and more. You can also become a YouTube channel member for $5 a month. A YouTube membership includes all of the Patreon benefits, plus a special members badge, priority reply to video comments, and the live chat, plus a monthly members-only video. We thank you all, kind and generous benefactors, for supporting Truth Seekers. Thank you for your generosity and support. Thanks for being here. This is Truthseekers with your host, Stephen Campion. Please rate, like, and comment on our videos or podcasts. If you are listening to an audio podcast, please rate us 5 stars to help us rise in the search rankings. If you are watching on YouTube, please like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. If you're listening to an audio podcast, we love and appreciate you listeners, but you are missing the live tapings. All our shows are recorded live with video feed. We'd love you to come be a part of our live broadcasts and tapings for the podcast. Head on over to YouTube, click the search tool, the little magnifying glass, put Truthseekers, one word in the search bar, and hit enter. You'll see a strange and mysterious guy with sunglasses. That means you found the channel. Go there, smash the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell to receive up-to-date info on our YouTube channel. We welcome you to be a part of our live taping and our chat group during the live broadcasts. Seek the truth. Speak the truth. This is Truthseekers. Truthseekers.
I got scrapings off Jim's balls. 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 I got scrapings off Jim's balls.
Now, goddamn it, Bobby. I don't care what Chris Mellon said on Fox News. You're not giving money to that Blink-182 fella.
But Dad, they promised to build a spaceship.
No one's building a spaceship, Bobby.
But the Daily Mail reported that.
Those people are all insane.
My question is, when there are unsubstantiated claims or manufactured claims of UAPs or kind of false information that's put out there.
I have seen the logs. I have seen the videos. We have attempted shoot downs of UAPs on a regular basis. We're talking as recently as last Friday.
And can I just say, even though I'm not entirely comfortable at times with the way they sensationalize in their promos, because I thought the promos for our story were a tad over the top at times.
What you're seeing here is momentous.
You think that's alien technology?
Yes, I do.
I thought the promos for our story were a tad over the top.
We have new, conclusive proof.
Testable evidence of alien technology.
Tad over the top at times.
Is it possible to exceed the speed of light? The answer is yes.
The biggest discovery in human history.
Promos for our story were a tad over the top.
New evidence that has to be seen to be believed.
7 News Spotlight, Sunday on 7 and 7 Plus.
Not entirely comfortable at times with the way they sensationalize in their promos, because I thought the promos for our story were a tad over the top at times.
Now turn to the business of this town. More than 50 years ago, the U.S. government ended Project Blue Book.
Let me share with you the first video that we have here today, which shows an observation in real time.
There's a bright orb running the length of my pond.
That's the object that we're looking at right there.
Oh, Lord,
in
thank
that
you,
area.
my Lord.
Is
Wow.
that it right there?
And Alexi, what I'll ask is if you can stop it at a certain point.
Okay, if you could stop that. That's not that.
Have we attempted to communicate with those objects?
No. Are you aware of a document that appeared around 2019, sometimes called the Admiral Wilson Memo or EW Notes Memo?
I am not.
You're not. I'm not personally aware of that. Okay. So you're not aware of that?
I'm not aware, Congressman.
This is not worth wasting resources on.
Okay, so we're back, and I'll be taking comments and questions from the live chat, and I have a bit more to share with you about some of those talking points that we have been hearing lately. And interestingly, I think it's important that we one second. Well, here we go. I want to thank John Lies, and no better way to do that than this. Here we go. It's official now. We are praising the cash, praising the cash, praising the cash. Thank you, John Lies, for your kindness, your generosity, and support of the show. With 888 Canadian, and says, come on, folks, support the show. We thank you for your kindness, your generosity, and support, and for helping us to praise the cash. We'll be reading each and every super chat for the remainder of the broadcast. Thank you all for your kindness, generosity, and support. If you like Stephen's work, please like, subscribe, and share his content. This is Mark Tirana. That would definitely help. Now, I have to go and find what alien scientists sent me a message asking what happened to Kyle of UFO Truth, and I'll just tell everybody, Kyle from UFO Truth is a fugitive from justice. He is last I checked, he is a wanted criminal being hunted down by the various law enforcement agencies in, I believe, several states. So Kyle from UFO Proof is a wanted criminal, convicted. I don't know, not convicted. He's wanted. In other words, he was arrested for a criminal charge. He was let out on bail, and then he blew bail, which is, he just moved out of state and he did not show up for his court appearances. So he's got warrants for his arrest. That's all I know when last I checked on his situation. And for those unaware, Kyle of UFO Proof is a subcontractor or employee of Third Phase of Moon. So nice to know that Third Phase of Moon, works with criminals to bring everybody their UFO hoaxes and fraud stuff. And by the way, we'll have a new piece on them very soon. And so I have some interesting things. Talk about all about money. Banana with a kind and generous $1.49 super sticker. Thank you for your kindness, generosity, and support of the show. And we appreciate that, Banana. Thank you very much. And we thank Red Panda Koala with a kind and generous $5 super chat. Says, hello, Cambion. Where do you suspect this all leads? The legislation and hearings are pretty tangible happenings, in my opinion. Well, people say that, Red Panda Koala, but really what the disclosure dorks forget to tell you is that there is no transparency. And this so-called whistleblower protection only applies to people that testify in closed hearings to senators and congressmen. They're not allowed to just tell people in the American public the truth directly. They have to tell the senators and the congressmen, and then I guess they'll decide if we're allowed to know the truth of what those people are so-called blowing the whistle on. And this has created an inconvenient situation because you've got idiots like Corbell running around telling everybody that the Congress is talking to people that worked on alien spacecraft or are going to be, and these whistleblowers are coming forward, and we have no way to verify that, whether anybody has spoken to them, because there is no transparency in those things. But we thank everybody for their kindness, generosity, and support, and for helping us, of course. Thanks to all of you Patreon supporters and members as well for helping us to praise the cash. Praise the cash, praise the cash, praise the cash. Thank you for your kindness, generosity, and support. I wish that there was real whistleblower protection, but now it is a total shit show. It is a shit show. What is the agenda of the government with these PSYOP? Preparation of the public for future drone wars. Well, there's an awful lot of possibilities, but I have been very disturbed by the thought. And by the way, I did a thought experiment, Marcus Lamper, over the weekend, whereby I removed all of the information that all of these intelligence assets and government people that have infiltrated the UFO community. I did a thought experiment where I removed all of what they had injected into the world of UFOs since 2015, and was shocked and startled that most of what is out there has been brought to us by these intelligence people, by these government people, by these by this psyop, or what I can only call a possible psyop. Stormcrow with a kind and generous $5 Australian says, make no mistake, any legislation will be to stop people like you, Stephen, not the grifters like Greer. Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, we'll have some new fun stuff about Greer and Third Phase of Fake coming up hopefully this week. We've also got the revelation of a hoax from Richie Grifton. Remember? Oh, I never got caught hoaxing anything. Think again, dummy. And I'm sure there'll be some excuses for us catching him lying to his audience again. But it is what it is. And I got to tell you, and by the way, thank you for your kindness, generosity, and support in helping us to praise the cash, Stormcrow. And thanks to all you Patreon supporters, Twitch subscribers, members, and to you people buying the shirts. We have merchandise finally. I'm glad that it's finally available. A few people already sent me some pictures of them wearing the gear. Maybe we'll do a slideshow. Actually, we will. If you buy a Truthseekers shirt or merchandise or whatever, just send me a picture at truthseekershow@gmail.com of you wearing the shirt or whatever. We'll make a slideshow to thank everybody for their kindness and generosity. And thank you, Stormcrow, for yours.
Praise the cash, praise the cash, praise the cash.
Thank you, Stormcrow. And I was talking about Third Phase of Fake. Well, we got something for them. Something for Greer, Grifton, and Third Phase of Fake. You know, hey, they want to come out with a new documentary full. The last one was so full of lies and ridiculous nonsense, unproven fantasy land, that I think that it's only fair that, we bring people a truth bomb about this whole thing. And while we're on this subject, it's interesting. It's interesting that we can sort of pick apart how this whole business of UFOs, and by the way, that's what Brent Cousins called it, this business of UFOs. We can pick apart this whole business, and we can see that we can see a little bit more. If we peel back some layers of deception, we can see a little bit more about how the grift works. And for Third Phase of Moon, how it has worked is that they have tied their shit wagon to Third Phase, or to Stephen Greer, who we can verifiably prove has lied many, many, many times and been caught lying many, many, many times. Stephen Greer has made millions of dollars over the past several decades, making absolutely fantastical claims, none of which he has proven. But we can prove that many of his claims are false, like taking money from people and showing them flares, claiming they're spaceships, showing people moths, claiming that the moth was an interdimensional entity or extraterrestrial, showing people a cactus at an event that they paid $3,000 to attend and claiming that that was an extraterrestrial biological entity that Stephen Greer had summoned with his superpowers. So what you have is a pyramid of disinformation peddlers, and the top members are the ones that make the most money. I'm talking about people like Stephen Greer or Elizondo or Bob Lazar or whoever. And underneath these top of the pyramid, top of the grifter food chain, you have the bottom feeders who come in and suck up a little bit of money because of their, friendship, let's just call it, and close association with the top pyramid tier garbage peddlers. So isn't it interesting that Stephen Greer and the biggest UFO hoax channel ever on YouTube have teamed up to make documentaries together? And then, of course, you've got the real bottom feeders, like the people who are begging around for YouTube ad pennies, like Grifton. And Grifton has to defend Stephen Greer because he works for Third Phase of Moon and they're doing projects together to make money. So Gufon can't tell you the truth about Stephen Greer. In fact, he just got caught looking like an idiot because he went after Lion's Ground. You can search on YouTube for a video called True Facts About Stephen Greer, in which Heathcliff from Lion's Ground, formerly Astral Citizens, he started as Lion's Ground. But anyway, he just picked apart Gufon and his stupid arguments about Stephen Greer and how people can't prove that he's a liar, or, you didn't prove it was a hoax. Same talking points he used for Third Phase. Oh, nobody could prove that he hoaxed. Yeah, we could prove that Stephen Greer took thousands of dollars of people at special events, and then he showed them things like flares, cactuses, and moths. And Grifton is defending that because he's an idiot and he works for Third Phase. He cannot. There's so many people that are whores. He's a whore. He's bought and paid for. And you know what's worse than a whore is a really, really, really cheap one. And he went for YouTube ad pennies and the hope or promise that he's going to get a lot of subscribers out of working with Third Phase of Fake. So there are people in this thing that just cannot tell you the truth. They cannot tell you the truth. They couldn't if they wanted to, because they're bought and paid for. And that's just the way it is. So you're not going to get the truth out of some of these people. And we stand firm in our fierce independence and not selling out for YouTube pennies or subscribers or anything else. Why are you watching somebody who literally is lying to you so he could get some YouTube pennies, right? Literally is misleading you so he could get some subscribers or YouTube pennies, right? Why would you watch a guy doing that? Why would you watch a guy who is literally lying to you so he can get a few? It's not even much money, dude. That's, I'm never pissed off that somebody sells out, but I'm often angered by how quickly, easily, and cheaply they sell out. He's willing to sell his audience out so he could get a few YouTube ad pennies. Congratulations, you dummy, right? Or sell out and help the disinformation peddlers so that maybe he'll make some money, right? Maybe he'll get a Greer interview out of it or something to help his garbage channel of clickbait nonsense. I love lately, I don't watch, but people send me stuff like, yeah, structures on the moon and all this nonsense, right? Yeah. But hey, if you don't have real content, like this guy couldn't write a script to save his life, he would die. He's too burnt out. So, but it is what it is. Hope the YouTube pennies were worth it, Grifton. Yeah. Third phase of the Gufon moon. Yes. I'm quite skilled with a drone, but what good is a little DJI against an AI grid anti-UFO? I bet they have desktop lasers that shoot bugs and flies in an office somewhere that could be scaled up. Oh, I don't know. Tubacabra is apparently here. Don't talk about Rather's mom like that. I have a story about you. You might want to do an interview with me if that's the real you. The Valuetainment interview thumbnail. Yes, Craig William. Yes. What conferences are the biggest promoters of the scammer? All of them, all the bigger ones. And here's a general rule. The more money one of these guys is making, the more likely they are full of shit. I mean, look at these top tier guys and how full of crap they are and how little actual evidence they have, right? Yeah, you're giving him views. Stop that. Or if you have to, at least watch from the Twitter feed so he doesn't get any monetized views from you, right? Well, I think maybe it'd be a good idea to have you on with somebody else there, Tubacabra, because, you know, I would like to play the devil's advocate, but I'm having a hard time trying to do that and defend your side of the issue. I did listen to this one space and, you know, I have all those screenshots, so we're going to do that. Banana has become a new member, and that is cause for celebration. Thank you, Banana. And we call out everybody that becomes a new member. And it really, really does help. Banana, thanks for helping us to praise the cash with your membership. We love it. It helps us continue our journey. Thank you, Banana, for your kindness, generosity, and support of the show. And, of course, yeah, thank you for helping us to praise the cash.
Praise the cash, praise the cash, praise the cash.
That's right, Banana. You are helping us continue the journey. So questions or comments for me, please put them in all capital letters. I think I'll save some of these other things I had to share for another show. Challenge to the Stars Academy by Charles Upton. No. But I'm going to check that out. Thank you, WPC 1013. Maybe we should start doing watch parties when somebody actually does good work, right? Oh, Simon Fly throwing some shade. Talking of bottom feeders, it's Tubacabra. Yeah, I don't know. Linda Moulton Howe, fake alien photo queen, and raking in the cash. Yeah, the more money they make, the faker they are. That's a good general rule, right? Questions or comments for me, please put them in all capital letters. I'll go back and take a few of these. Stormcrow says, I need your money again to sell a lie about 0 point free energy. Yeah, he already made $500,000 from that, you know, in 2008. But here he is again with his hat in his hand going, just fill this up with $600,000 and then I'll bring you the truth of that, even though I didn't bring you any of the truth about it in 2008 when I was pushing it or in 2012. But all of you stupid people who gave me money back then are gone or forgot. So now I have new stupid people to grift off of. It's ridiculous. $3,500 to see a Joshua tree. What a bargain. Yeah, it is what it is. And still can't get good plastic surgery with all that money too. The Botox isn't working. Well, she is like 90 years old. Is that a Martin D series acoustic on the wall? You know, I don't think so. This acoustic guitar has been hanging up. I put it here to prevent. I put it in here because my children are not allowed in this room. They come in here sometimes, but they're not allowed in here. So I keep anything that's important and I don't want my children to destroy in this room. And that acoustic guitar was given to me by a friend named Tom, who I grew up with in the music business, and he has sadly passed away, and I didn't want one of my children to drop it or break it, or I rarely play that one, but I should. It's a good acoustic guitar, and it was given to me by my friend who passed away. You know, you never know how much time you had. He just, I believe he suddenly died of a heart attack, right? Red Panda Koala, who are your favorite researchers, living or passed away? Well, I really liked Stanton Friedman, but I liked him more as a friend than I liked him as I liked him as a researcher, but I liked him as a friend. I interviewed him a couple of times, and then we got really friendly. And he would call me sometimes at random just to see what I was working on or talk or catch up. And I would call him when I would get stuck on a research project, and he would give me great ideas. I really think, like any researcher, I'm sure that there's some things he got wrong, and there's some things that I disagreed with him on. But I think that Mr. Friedman's heart was in the right place. He truly wanted to solve the mystery and get to the truth of it. Yeah. Any thoughts on the Forbidden Nonsense Consciousness Awards and car giveaway? I have been procrastinating covering him because of various reasons, some of which are legal. He is a man who, pled guilty to fraud-related charges, and I don't believe that he has the legal ability to run a raffle in the state of Florida where he lives and his company lives. But I could be misinformed, and if I am, so be it. He won't probably answer questions, but we'll send him some anyway. Yeah. I don't know if that's true, but if it is, it's funny. I went camping with Greer, and he kept tapping on my tent and asking me if I wanted to see something amazing. Jacques Vallée, I like a lot of his writings and things, but I think that some of these guys get too deep in and just believe that it's all aliens without ample and supportive evidence to support their belief. I worry about myself sometimes, it's hard to stay grounded when you become convinced of some of these stories being true. I hope Joe Rogan comes out and admits he deleted the Greer interview because Greer is not credible. I have it on good authority that he did, but I could try to message young Jamie and see if he'll confirm that for me. I promise you, Operation Shutdown, I will message Jamie tonight and see if I can't get an answer to that question. I'll just ask, why was that deleted? Greer claims that you were pressured to or something. Don't know that this has been suggested, but you should get together with the alien scientists and other shows like yours and have your own conference, dispose of the garbage. Yeah, it's been discussed, but to get a bunch of us especially in a physical location, somewhat problematic. But I have talked to him about that and a few other people that we still consider credible left. Yeah. Spooky became a member. I don't know why Spooky would do that. I guess just to get the badge. But Spooky says, woohoo, I'm a member of my own show. Well, yeah, I guess so. Yeah, and I'll put that on my list of things to talk to Jeremy about. We both don't live that far away. We live 4 or 5 hours from each other, I think. So it would be doable. But I'd like to get everybody, if we did that in a real place, all together, not virtually. Spooky says, so someone gifted 5 subs, Stephen. Oh, okay, that's how you got one. Well, thanks. Who gifted the 5 subs so I can thank them? I don't know who did that. Let me see if I can find out. I don't know how to find out who did that. Somebody gifted 5 subs. That's $25 in the till. We thank you for your kindness, generosity, and support of the show. It is much, much appreciated. Let me see. Well, I don't know. But we've got new members to call out. We've got Banana, Deborah Jones, Spooky, and the Salty Magnet Fish. So thanks to all you new members, and thanks especially to the person who gifted the 5 subs. I would appreciate that. And bloke from Oz, Mark, is asking whatever happened to 6 Cents. I don't know. He got pissed off about something in the Discord, and he never came back. He disappeared. And it's a long story, but the short of it is that he was angry at me for not moderating everything in the Discord. But the problem is that there is thousands of posts a day in that Discord. So I can't possibly moderate or delete things. And I don't remember 6 Cents political alignments. Either he was very right or very left, right? And he did not like the posts in the Discord that were against his political leanings. And so he wanted me to delete them or fact check them. And I'm like, we can't do that. And he got in a huff and said, "You're not about the truth." And he bounced. And I haven't seen him or talked to him since. People ask me about him all the time. I hope he's well. But Sixth Sense tend to run real hot-headed and then just get over it fast. So at the time when that happened, I just assumed he was, hot-headed as usual, and he would get over it, but he just bounced and he never came back. And, it is a loss for our community. He was a good guy. Spooky, I don't know what that's about. Bankrupt and sued Craig? What? I really don't know. When will be the big show with Mr. Bales and the Mr. Blueberry Wolf Bridge? Thanks, Craig William. I'm trying to get him to coordinate to do it, and I don't know. I'm having a tough time. So what I'm going to do is I'll do that later tonight. I'll throw out a few dates to both of them and see if they could do. It was Banana who bought those. So thank you, Banana, for your kindness, generosity, and support. Thank you, Banana, for gifting those 5 subs. Now we got 5 new members, thanks to member Banana. Thank you for your kindness, generosity, and support.
Praise the cash, praise the cash, praise the cash. Thank you for your kindness. Thank you for your generosity. Praise the cash, praise the cash, praise the cash.
No, yeah. David Wilcock bathing in his own urine is probably a cover story because he pisses his own pants every time he sees Cambion come after him. Yeah, probably. I heard occasionally I hear things, and remember he's had people live with him, and one of those people that lived with him. We're wrapping up now, Spooky. Why do you always suggest these things when we're wrapping up? Anyway, somebody who lived with him for a time suggested that he would go into fits of rage when he saw our streams here. And considering his narcissistic personality, I believe that person. Do a poll. Should I come on your show in person? We're going to be wrapping things up, but maybe later in the week there. We have done our due diligence for today. Spooky does exist to annoy me. Don't worry, I'll start annoying you, man. I'll just start ordering all kinds of thumbnails I'll never use. You got to get that one done for Wednesday, and then tomorrow I don't know which one we're doing yet, but probably one of the ones that you've already got done. We got listen, we're going to have a hell of a week for you this week. I am catching up on a lot of work, and we are really full steam ahead this week, foot on the gas. Obama said something like, "Things are flying in the sky and doing weird things we can't explain" on Jimmy Kimmel a couple of years ago. Part of a psyop too? I don't know. If you believe the UFO grifters, the president doesn't have a need to know. So even the president doesn't know. And it's 27 levels above the UFO files are 27 levels of secret above the president, or who knows what they know. I think a lot of them are just as misinformed as the average citizen about what the government really knows. And I think that some U.S. presidents have been more informed of the whole UFO and alien situation than others, and maybe some of that was based on interest. I know Jimmy Carter and Ronald Reagan were very, very interested in the topic, as was Bill Clinton. And some other presidents, it seems like they could care less. Like I think Obama, Bush, and Trump could care less. But interestingly, if anybody knew anything about the UFO file, it certainly would have been George H.W. Bush Sr. Remember, there's famous stories, some of which are disputed, but that President Carter asked George H.W. Bush, who was CIA director at the time, to get him all the UFO files and brief him. And famously, at least according to UFO mythology, George H.W. Bush denied him and said he didn't have a need to know. And there's been various stories about things like that since JFK. Really, really interesting. Then Lizzie Borden says, by the way, thank you for your kindness, generosity, and support of the show. Patrick Fitzpatrick.
Praise the cash.
Good night of praising the cash today. And good, because we need it. Isn't it interesting? The show starts doing better and then your bills increase, right? By the way, I should remind you of a few things. The first is that we have a new website now, and it's just truthseekershow.com. Truthseekershow.com. And it's in the description of this video, just in case. Ignorance is bliss, says Mark Tarana. I resemble that remark. I can show you our website. 1 second. There we go. And this is our new website. It's important that if you visit our website, you click this and get notified of new episodes. We're starting a mailing list, an email list, and we won't spam the hell out of you, but if there's something new, we send you a quick notice of it. And here you can get all of our videos up to the very latest. You can get all of the audio podcasts up to the very latest. You can listen on all the different audio podcast platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, YouTube, Deezer, iHeartRadio, Podcast Addict, Podchaser, or you can even get our RSS feed if you're so inclined. And I encourage you to get notified of new episodes. We've got to change that to sign up for our mailing list because we're going to start doing a monthly newsletter about what's coming up, new guests and things like that. But this is great. Truthseekershow.com. You can go there and get updated, get all the latest, whatever you're looking for. If you're looking for audio podcasts, those are at the top. A little further down, all of the latest live videos or even production videos, like this Randy Kramer MedBed scam pitch. And we're going to have new production videos this week that I have been slowly working on. Carter claims he saw a UFO. Yes, he did. Thank you, 5x5 News. I appreciate that. I'm so glad the show is grooving and on more often. Well, I'd like to be on more often, Mike, but the problem is really at this point financial. You know, I have to do other things in order to make a living. In a perfect world, I could just do this and not have like a real job. And that doesn't make sense. Not that I have a real job. I have a business, and part of my business is this media production, but the other part of my business is sort of computers and technology. And I thought some time ago, in fact, I even told Spooky that I was throwing in the towel on everything else. I was just going to do the show. But it just hasn't worked out that way. I have to, I do other things to generate income for the company, and that generates 5 times or 10 times the income that the show does. So, it's like anything else. You just got to do what you got to do. In a perfect world, I would have more time to dedicate to this. But I will say that I know that there's people that do this full time that I work 10 times harder than and produce more good quality content than they ever do. And they don't need a job. So, it makes me a little bitter sometimes when I think about it from that lens. But I believe in the concept that if you water the garden will grow. So every day I come here and work on this thing. It's one of my true passions in life, and it's a dream come true doing this show. Essentially, we're doing our own television show and radio show all at once. The technology is amazing, allowing us to do that. Yeah, so in a perfect world, I would just do this. But yeah, I'm going to have to do other things for the foreseeable future. But I do try to just get those things done and out of the way as quickly as possible, and then dedicate most of my time, energy, and resources to this. But as I'm sure many of you are aware, it takes a lot of time and energy to do all of this stuff, from booking the guests, all the research, to cutting videos to support the show. One-time Skunkworks Award winner Jay Good will be spotlighted on UFO Endgame disclosure. Will this be mind-blowing information? I doubt it. Are you talking about the third phase of fake documentary? If you think you're getting mind-blowing information from third phase of moon, then you haven't been paying attention, because generally all they have is garbage. 1 second. I'm getting pinged. Oh, yeah. I'll share that. Sure. Hold on. Amy Collins. Oh, we have to check. Let me share. Somebody already memed this, but here's Spooky, who saw a UFO today. This is the best UFO on UFO Twitter today. That should tell you.
Oh my God. Oh my God, it's a UFO. Oh my God, I gotta send this to the Cousins brothers. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God, it's a UFO. Oh my God.
It's a Batman. Oh no, it's a 3 balloon.
Oh my God.
Yeah, send it to the Cousins.
Oh my God.
Don't laugh. Don't take it. They'll take it, Spooky. They will take it. And isn't it funny? So I think somebody memed that already. It's in the Discord. I'll try to go over there and find it to share, because that's funny. No, now I can't find it. I thought somebody memed it, Spooky, and they put like third phase of fake on it or something. I don't see it in Discord now. I'll find it when I don't need to share it. That's when I will find it, right? Always some fun stuff. Oh no, I did. I found it. Duh. All right, here. Let me share it here. Yeah, third phase of balloons. Wow, what on earth is happening? Crazy UFO sighting. Oh, I'm definitely stealing that for our show where we have the characters going. Great stuff, right? They will just use them, though. They'll just use them, right? Mace is here and says CIA concealment of UFO info is perverting reality itself. It's an atrocity. Well, I definitely agree with you. My flock is everywhere. The kind and generous 99-cent super sticker. Thank you for your kindness, generosity, and support of the show. Much, much appreciated. Praise the cash, my flock.
Praise the cash, praise the cash, praise the cash.
Yes, thank you for your kindness and continued support, and thanks for being a member. And thanks especially to Banana. My flock is everywhere. That great shirt, Stephen, looks based as hell, brother. Thank you. Yeah, I like this one's my favorite so far, but I like the other ones that have the funny sayings on them as well. And it was a little surreal to open that package and see this logo I made so long ago on a t-shirt, exactly how I imagined it would be on a t-shirt someday. It was a little bit of like a manifesting. We manifested Truthseekers t-shirts somehow. We really built the show from the ground up from nothing, and I'm proud of where we've gotten so far. I can't wait to see how big the show will be in, a few years, right? Spooky wants to get a plug there at Fires of Truth on Twitter. Yes. My Flock says, praise the cash. World of Chaos says, that's the shirt I'm needing in my life. Links are in the description, but some of these designs are not on both stores yet. I'm told they will be shortly. Yeah. And by the way, if my friend at the cabin, Matt, is watching, I got one of these for you, still in the package, just for you, Matt. Special gift, and thanks for all your support. Matt at the cabin is like my... he's like my therapist. If the show's not going well and I got to figure stuff out, we just sit around and spitball ideas for shows and things. And he's watched the show grow too. And it's his fault that we got monetized on Twitch. He's the one that got me to do that. as well. So thanks, Matt. Third phase, we'll use it and talk about how interesting it is. Everything they comment on is interesting. Yeah. Stephanie in the Willows is here, says, I'm proud of you, Stephen. I remember when you were at 500 followers. I remember when I was at 50. I remember when I was at 10, right? And I remember early live streams with only 6 people watching, and, you know. But hey, just a word of advice to anybody. Get through those times. Just, you got to have the passion to follow through. Just keep watering that garden, and surely that garden will grow. And it really is, it's almost like a physics problem. If you dump all the time, energy, work, passion, and glory you can into something you're trying to make work, it's going to work eventually. You just got to keep pushing. And that's what we've done here. I've wanted to throw in the towel and quit many, many times. And by the way, I'm not a certain grifty show host who likes to say, I need to get a job so that the donations increase every month or so. Just throw that out there. Oh, I have to quit the show and get a real job. And then he never does. I'll never do that shit either. Liar. What a liar. How many times has he pulled that scam? Right? I remember when the show was just an idea. Yeah, well, really, to me, it was just like we already had the audio podcast, and I wanted to change the name because I didn't want to be tied to do the show at midnight. And I felt like I would if I left it the midnight hour. And by the way, all of our previous show, the midnight hour, are now available on our YouTube channel here. Just search our channel for the midnight hour if you want to see where we really started, right? Yeah, Amy Collins says, trying to think when I discovered Stephen was when he was still doing audio podcasts. Yeah. Oh, I did not know that. World of Chaos says, March 23rd, 2020 is my Truthseekers birthday. You wonder how many of those followers are real? Well, I could say this much. He just got caught buying subscribers again because you could tell from his social blade that he bought, I think it was 100 subscribers, and then YouTube took them back. Dummy. Keep buying subscribers, Why anybody would watch a guy that is trying to pretend that he's got more subscribers than he is by buying them? That is the worst, most egocentric dickhead thing to do. Buy subscribers to try to pretend to people that you're bigger than you are. Yeah, I agree, Maria Rose. Congratulations on the subscription numbers growing organically. Yeah. Oh, he called you Chunky Lizzie. Well, he likes to make fun of people because he hates himself so much. That's the only way he can make himself feel better. I need subs to share videos of Foxy, right? I think I heard Stephen doing a monologue about Greer years ago. Yeah, and we're still no closer to destroying the disinformation, misinformation empire of Dr. Stephen Greed or Third Phase of Fake. They're still chugging along, making $500 a video for garbage, right? Yeah. Imagine we do 5 shows a week here. Imagine if I made $500 a video. That would be awesome. But apparently, you can only make that money if you're willing to lie, cheat, and steal your way to that level, and just do anything. Balloons, no problem. Pepper's ghost illusions, no problem. Fake live video sightings, no problem. That's what they've done to get there. And unfortunately, we have morals and ethics here, right? I discovered Truthseekers when Emery Smith's ex-fiance came out and exposed him. When I searched for a topic, YouTube, Stephen was the first one covering it. Yeah, we were. And it's so funny because I talked to that girl so much and she was so nervous about both doing her own videos about that and about me like doing commentary over it. But she realized pretty quickly that I was doing it like in a funny way. And she was a nice girl. I liked her. She's a travel influencer. I still see her on my Facebook feed sometimes. She just travels all over the world to all these beautiful exotic locations and takes pictures on Instagram. And she makes a living doing that. God bless her. Beautiful girl, too, as I recall. I bought a weather balloon with my allowance at age 7. It hit the ground once and popped. Oh, yeah, they're pretty. My kids have these, they're called wubble balls. Look up wubble ball. They're these huge balls that are really like big ass balloons. I always wondered, like, oh, that'd be cool if we could take that big, blow it up with helium. But I never splurged on the probably $80 worth of helium it would cost to blow one of them into helium. Ganja says she was easy on the eyes. Yeah, she was. And he does. Some people belong. Listen, everybody. I heard this. Lou Jimenez, of course, he was talking about this concept of hitting that crossroads where you realize that a lot of the people involved in this thing, and more importantly, the stories involved in this thing, are all fake. And you're in that. You hit that crossroads, and you have a decision to make. Either you're just going to lie to everybody and go along with the lies, the garbage peddling, the fake information, the disinformation, the profiteering hucksters selling fake stories, or you're going to go down the right path and tell people the truth about all that stuff. Grifty, he had his crossroads, and we see what path he chose. He chose to help the garbage peddlers make money because he thought that would be more profitable for him. And that says everything that you need to know about that clown. And by the way, yes, he did fake that stupid ghost orb hoax. And this week we're going to release a video proving it. Dummy. Get your excuses ready, you dummy. Yeah, it's funny to laugh about it now. It's always easier to laugh later, right? Arcto says, Steven got me too. Well, yeah, I'm glad you all found me. Otherwise, we'd be a lot worse off, right? And by the way, that's two things I want to encourage you to do, and that is like, comment, subscribe, and share these videos. Share these videos on your Facebook, on your Twitter, on your social media. Follow me on Twitter, @Twitter, and retweet when I post a show. It really, really does help. And the number two thing I'm going to ask you to do is go through our archives. Watch one more. It really, really helps us with the algorithm. If you watch one more, the algorithm goes, oh, this guy Steve Cambian and Truthseekers must make good content because people come and watch a video and then they watch one more, and they dial us up in the recommendations, and we hit more people's feed, so we get more views, more subscribers. It really, really helps us out. Is Whitley Strieber a grifter? I don't think that I can answer that objectively, to be honest with you, because I loved that book, Communion, growing up. And I even got to interview him once. By the way, that's the one more you could watch. I interviewed him once, Mace. It's on our channel here. Just search for Whitley Strieber. And that in that interview, I don't know. I can only tell you my own perception, but I didn't get the perception that he was a grifter. And I didn't get the perception that he was making up stories to sell. Other people's perception of him is maybe different because he has been a fiction writer in the past before he started writing about aliens and all these strange encounters. I don't know. It's hard for me to be objective. I liked him as a person. He was on here and then he started talking about aliens probing his asshole and like how difficult that was like to talk about. And I was just like, whoa. And we should have made a clip about that. Yeah. Speaking of clips, right? Yes. Steven should really make shorts and shorter videos too. Yeah, I should. There's, I have a lot of you shoulds, no offense, Arcto, but everybody says you should do this, you should do that. I'm just glad that the people who have been saying you should have shirts and a merchandise store, I don't have to listen to anymore because now we do. Or you should have a website. Yeah, we did that. We did it. We were making shorts for a while. But the problem is that I can't do all of this and do the shorts too. So what we need is a clip producer, and that's not cheap. And we just don't have the funds to pay somebody to do it. So unless we got a volunteer clip producer who That's a shit job because they're going to have to listen through every show for 4 hours sometimes to find the best 5-minute clips and make clips of them. Is it a good idea? Sure. Are we going to be able to do that? I don't know. Big Bird, love child of Korean avian. Blue avian, possible. Yeah, trademark, possible. And thank you, Wendy Williams, for helping us to praise the cash.
Praise the cash, praise the cash.
Thank you for your kindness, generosity, and support. More like who's going to help. Yeah, Stephanie. Yeah, and I don't mind the you shoulds, but they grain on me after a while. I've had 1,000 people tell me that we should have a website for the show, and 1,000 people tell me you should have shirts. I would buy one. By the way, where are all you people now? All you people for years that you got to have T-shirts, Stephen. I would buy one. Where are you all at? The merchandise links, the links to both merchandise stores are in the description of the video. And I would say there's at least 20 times more people told me I should have merchandise and they would buy one than have actually bought anything yet. So even when you do the you shoulds, it doesn't, But I am glad that we're having them. Steph says, I miss being on the show. Yeah, I don't know if anybody remembers. Well, I'm sure many people here remember you from being on the show. But Stephanie, I meant the situation. Stephanie does tarot cards, and we thought it would be fun if Stephanie came here and just gave free tarot card readings once in a while. And some idiots from another show, like, they lost their goddamn minds, right? Oh, he's a sellout. He's having tarot cards and nonsense. It was such nonsense, and they just harassed this poor girl and me, right? Amazing. Spooky says, if I wasn't busy, I would do it. Sure. Go off, get Hollywood deals and shit instead of helping me. No. You should forget all this big Hollywood plans and just do my shorts, right? Goof on would show his shorts for pennies. Oh, man. He would do it. Yeah, that dude needs the pennies, man. I wish. No, I'm not even going to say it out loud. I was just going to say something humorous about pennies and him, but I'm going to keep that to myself. Merch available in Australia yet? Yes, there's a Redbubble store. It's the second link in the description of this video. There's one link that says Amazon store, and there's another link that says Redbubble. In fact, I'm going to go over there now just so I can show everybody. So apparently I know I'm going to get this wrong, and I probably shouldn't even say this because I get it wrong, but let me get into the description of the video here. Yeah, the first link says buy some merchandise to support our show, Amazon store. The second link says Redbubble store, international shipping. So if we go over to that, I will show you that right now. And thank you for your kindness, generosity, and support. But here's the Redbubble Truthseekers merchandise store. You can get a Trust Me Dude hat, a Warning Wackadoo hat. There's my head. All the designs are not here yet, including this new Truthseekers one, but they will be shortly. So this store at Redbubble ships everywhere. And just so everybody is aware, it might seem cheaper, but you also have to pay shipping. So it's the same price as the Amazon store. And I don't want to get it wrong, but according to my best recollection, the Amazon store won't ship to Canada, Australia, and a few other places. It'll ship to the United States, UK, and Japan, though. None of this makes any sense to me. So what I would tell you is if you prefer Amazon, try the first link. And if that doesn't work or it won't let you ship, try the second link to the Redbubble store. And that one works worldwide. And thank you, Stormcrow, for another $2. Says, okay, damn, I want a hoodie or 3. Yeah, I'm going to get one for the cabin. Absolutely. And thank you for your kindness, generosity, and for helping us to praise the cash. And thanks to all you people buying shirts and hats and whatever else. Buy our crap. Buy our crap. Buy our crap. All right? I'm told that I should do a call to action, right? I'm supposed to do a call to action to get people to buy the stuff. So here's my call to action. We need money. Buy our crap. All right. Praise the cash. Buy our crap.
Praise the cash, praise the cash, praise the cash.
Thank you, Stormcrow. And I better see a hoodie on that spreadsheet of purchases or we're coming after you. Spooky says, just wait till I get a moment to design some shirts. I know, I'm looking forward to that. But I'm also like, man, I'm broke. I can't even afford the sample price of the shirts, you know? I'm like, oh, I got to buy some to wear on the show. But I'm looking forward to yours. Mace says, still waiting for Amazon to live up to their name and have them ship Amazon women. Oh, that'd be pretty cool. How to order in Deutschland. Probably the Redbubble store. The second, just try both links. If Amazon will let you order, great. If not, try the second one, Redbubble, right? Stephanie in the Willows says, I will support. Yeah. We got to get some hot chicks wearing the shirts and the slideshows, all right? We don't want a sausage party in our merchandise slideshow full of you UFO dorks. So we much prefer if some of you attractive ladies could get a shirt and then model it for us, send me a picture, and we'll make a slideshow, right? We will definitely make a slideshow. There we go. Look at that. UFO Vertijat 2. $10 euro says, thank you for your work. I love it when your kid shouts praise to cash. Imagine Steven being the alarm clock. Wake up, you ASS, go to work. I'm off to work. Thank you, buddy. Well, thank you for your kindness, generosity, and support of the show. It is much, much appreciated. We thank you for helping us to praise the cash. You guys are making it rain up in here, praising the cash all night. 5 of them for you, UFO Verajat 2. Thank you for your kindness, generosity, and support. Much, much appreciated. We have such generous people, right? Oh, that was you. Oh, okay. Yeah, some people have a separate account that they don't have on there for the money thing. And yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you, Arcsto. Much, much appreciated, right? Then Lizzie Borden. Oh, hey, listen, we're just kidding. Listen, our content will always be free. It's all you people with the big bucks that help, you know. And if you don't have any funds, there's other ways to help, like commenting, subscribing, sharing, watching one more video is a great way to help. People think I'm crazy. These people have been sitting here with me for 2 hours and 42 minutes, and now I want them to watch another 3-hour show. Yeah, it helps the algorithm. We need that. Yeah. Stephanie and the Wildos, I have a friend who can model your merch, right? We need to get Trixie into. Oh, you're right. Yes, but we have to get her a special low cut one. We're gonna have to do some. We're gonna have to do some work on that. Yes, yes. They love their sausage parties. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Yes, Rican. Yes. Your donations help a poor, struggling artist like me afford editing software. Big love to all who support the show. Seriously, couldn't happen without you. Yeah, and I agree. And I just want to mention that, like, a lot of the things that we have for the show, like the multicam setup, the video editing software that I use, these interesting lights that let us fake an animated background since StreamYard still won't let us. This microphone, all this stuff, you know, we take it out of the till when we need something. But by the way, I'm cheap as hell. But when I really think something will help the show, you know, Spooky gets the Creative Cloud because Spooky needs that to work. I got other software and have purchased other software as well. We got, what is that, Filmora. But soon I'll be purchasing DaVinci Resolve, which I can't wait for. And that'll come from the till. So all the things that we need for the show all come out of the till here. So whether you throw a couple of bucks in our hat on YouTube or Twitch or Patreon or PayPal, it all helps support the show. And by the way, I will just check in with that. If you send a PayPal donation, make sure you add a note and any message that you want us to read, put it in the note, and we will do that. No, we're all caught up on the PayPal pledges. So yeah, and thank you, by the way, for all you Patreon supporters. By the way, there's a new members video and Patreon video. Yeah, and actually, I'm gonna get that. There's a new Patreon and members only early access video, and that was that. Remember that music video? It was by Music with Me, but it was by Sheila Aliens. She did a new render of it that is just fantastic. And so I'm going to be deleting the old one from the channel, and we're going to be uploading this one. But we gave the Patreon supporters and the YouTube channel members early access. I think tonight would be a good night. I'm going to world premiere it at the end of tonight's broadcast. She just did an incredible job with this, and really, I was blown away when I seen this this new version that she did. And to be very honest with you, I don't even know what she did to make it so much cleaner, clearer, and more visually appealing. I mean, that's all I could say. It's really, really much, much better. And now let me see, how long is that going to take? I'm going to try to get it for you guys. Oh, it's already done. There we go. All right, let me get it loaded into StreamYard, though. And yeah, so this is a Demons, and it is a song by me from my upcoming album, which, by the way, will be on iTunes soon. I'm just going to keep saying soon until the distributor of the new album gets back to me with a date that it'll be available and links for it to be on iTunes and other platforms for purchase, including Amazon Music, I think. It's interesting album, and pretty personal album. This album was largely about me quitting drinking, and that's what that song Demons is about. Sometimes you gotta kill your demons in order to move forward in life, and I certainly had a period where that was the goal. Stormcrow, poor struggling artist building his second cabin. Hey, shut up, Stormcrow. Shut up. Shut up. I built that first cabin out of trees and trash. It took me 5 years. Trees and trash. You ever build a 900 square foot building out of trees and trash by yourself? Because I did. And by the way, the second one will be built out of trees and trash too, because that's just how we roll. But I still need something like $20-something thousand just to pay for that land. So yes, I am a poor struggling artist. Oh, sure. There's more with the you shoulds. Now we need stickers. Come on, man. We just got a website and merchandise, and all you should people are coming up with new you shoulds. Yeah, we should have stickers. You know what? I'll ask Anthony from Unidentified S4, because he left a bunch of that shit at my cabin, and I didn't throw them out yet. I don't know. I think like handing somebody a sticker for a show that they might have zero interest in is kind of like, here, you throw this out. But no, Anthony meant well, and I did put up a sticker somewhere in the cabin, but he gave me a whole lot of them. So apparently he knows where to make them, But the problem is with the stickers, then I got to send them to people, which means going to the post office. And Spooky says, bring back CW Ranner. Yeah, Thin Lizzy, I'm in the same boat. I'm what you call California sober. I use cannabis for my paralyzed eye. I have a medical card, Yeah, you tell them and get them. Yeah. Thanks, Stormcrow. Now you laid a bad precedent, because now I'm going to think every time I yell at you, I get $10. Like that's the $10 money machine, right? No, thank you. But on a serious note, Stormcrow, I really did. It cost no money to build that cabin. It was all time. And someday soon, Stormcrow, I'm going to do pictures and a video walkthrough of the completed cabin. I got a little more to finish up in the bathroom, and then I have to put the porch on it. And then that cabin is done. And can't tell you, 5 years of not every weekend, but most every weekend when I could, when the weather was okay, just out there building this, almost 1,000 square foot cabin. Always had a dream in my heart to do that for some reason. Well, I grew up with the outdoors and Boy Scouts and camping, and my dad taking us in the woods and teaching us bushcraft and things. So, I mean, I guess it got in my blood, but it was always my dream to do that. And I have almost. It's almost done. And I enjoyed the process of the first cabin so much that I knew I wanted to do it again. So we have new land, and I have to praise the cash a lot to get the money to just pay for the land. But the good news, Stormcrow, is that the land will provide everything we need to build a new cabin, except for some odds and ends. I'm going to have to buy some mortar mix to build the fireplace out of, but the stones, the logs, the wood, everything, and I might have to buy some roofing materials. But everything else will come out of the forest to build a new cabin. So praise the cash, Stormcrow, and thank you for your kindness, generosity.
Praise the cash, praise the cash, praise the cash.
Stephanie and Willows with a kind and generous $5 super sticker. Thank you for your kindness, generosity, and support of the show. Much, much appreciated. Thank you for helping us to praise the cash.
Praise the cash, praise the cash, praise the cash. Thank you for your kindness. Thank you for your generosity. Praise the cash, praise the cash, praise the cash.
Thank you, Stephanie, and thank you all of you kind and generous show supporters, right? Spooky says, I use Creative Cloud, I work pro. Yeah, but, I don't know, man. A lot more people are using DaVinci Resolve. Do you know people are leaving in droves to go to DaVinci Resolve is $300 and you're done. Lifetime upgrades. Or $50 a month for the rest of your life. Yeah, Red Panda Koala says, Spooky, DaVinci is free and all the rage I hear. I want Spooky to learn to switch to DaVinci Resolve just because I am, and it'll make my life so much easier because Spooky will figure out some things that I don't know how to do, and maybe I could show Spooky some things that I figured out that Spooky doesn't know how to do. And anyway, yeah. Arcto says, I use cannabis a lot. Yeah, well, good for you. I think it's good for, it's medicine for the body and mind. A big supporter of cannabis, right? DaVinci also stiffed their legacy customers on the contract use agreement. Heck them. I don't know about that. Do you mean Filmora? Because Filmora screwed everybody right after I bought it. That was great. Great timing on my part. Did you or did you not try to book Eric Hecker? Name sounds very familiar. Where is he from, Craig? GoFundMe uses GIMP, allegedly. Oh, jeez. There's Mr. Beast, the Antichrist drama. Mr. Beast is Antichrist? I haven't heard this. That's a conspiracy I could get behind, right? Yeah. It was Filmora that screwed everybody. And Manny felt bad because Manny was talking it up. He kept telling me to buy it every month. And every month I was like, no. And then, Spooky, there was a promo code where I got like $30 off or something. So I don't know. I only paid $89 for it. So I can't really complain. I used it to produce those clips that we used in tonight's broadcast, or at least a few of them, the newer ones. It's got a lot of cool filters and effects that I don't have in my other editor. So if nothing else, I use Filmora for the filters and effects that it puts on videos. Like if you want something to look VHS or crappy, it's got nice overlays and filters and different stuff. And then I pull it into my other editor. So I'm not pissed off. Manny thought I was going to be pissed off because they screwed everybody. After you buy it, then they say, "Oh, remember when we said you'd get lifetime upgrades? We meant just for that version." And by the way, I have such terrible timing, Spooky. I bought version 11, and then 9 days later, they came out with version 12 and said, "No more upgrades for you." And they want $30. And you know what's annoying is every time pardon me, what's annoying is every time I use that program, it tries to give them $30 for the upgrade, and I don't want the upgrade. I should be able to tell them stop. Yeah, it is what it is, though. DaVinci Resolve is the bomb so far. Hygiene Contactee says Fillmore is garbage. I got roped in and couldn't get it to work. Well, I could teach you how to use it in a 20-minute Skype call or StreamYard call. I'd be happy to try to help you with it. How's the weather at your cabin? Oh, yeah, that's interesting. So on Friday, Stephanie, I'm driving up, and I swear to God, my cabin is inside a snow globe, right? Because it's like a 2-hour drive to the cabin from my house. And I get to like an hour and 50 minutes in, right before I get off the highway near the cabin, the last highway. I take like the back road highways, so I take like 4 highways. But I get to the exit. It's Goldsboro exit. It's Goldsboro, Pennsylvania, where my cabin is. And there was no rain, no snow, nothing the whole way up. A few minutes before the exit that I get off to go to the cabin, main road, it just starts downpouring ice. Like not snow, like ice, like big hail chunks and ice. And I felt like I was driving on a slip and slide down that main road. I was sliding all over, praying that nobody would be coming the other way because it's a 2-lane road, and I'm sliding all. I couldn't even stay. It was so bad. But I got to the cabin safely. And then I thought, well, it'll be no problem. I'll shovel, Sunday, I couldn't get the car out of the driveway. There was only like an inch or two of ice, snow, whatever it was. But then after the ice storm on Friday, we had a snowstorm on Saturday. So there was 2 inches of ice and then an inch of snow or 2 inches of snow. And my car tires were just spinning. I could not get the thing to pull out of the driveway. Luckily, what I did is I put some little logs, like baseball bat size pieces of trees, under the front tires, and then it pulled up on that and over, and then I put it under again and again. It just took me like an hour to shovel the car out of the driveway. But the weather will be improving there, and the springs and summers are excellent there, right? The Great Cabin of Cambion, yeah, soon to be 2. Yeah, that was a scary one. The last time it was that icy, I ended up in a ditch, Stephanie, on the side of a mountain. And it took 2 tow trucks. They had to get the winches and pull me up the embankment to get my car out of the ditch. And that was really scary. This time it was just anxiety ridden that I thought I was going to wipe out. I really did. And I was doing 5 miles an hour after a while. And luckily, it wasn't that bad. Once I got there, I was fine because my car doesn't move until Sunday, but it was getting back out because the main road is always plowed like hell, Stephanie, but my cabin is often the main road a few miles down a dirt road into the woods where there's nothing. So it's terrible when it snows. Even a few inches can get very dangerous very fast. And sometimes I have been unable to get from the cabin to the main road. One time I had to get dragged, from a tow truck had to drag me. I got stuck in the snow and the ice, and the tow truck had to drag me out to the main road. Luckily, those tow truck guys out there, they know. They do this all winter. They know these people with their, and they all tell me the same thing. Yeah, you really ought to get a 4-wheel drive vehicle. I'm like, yeah, I know. Because you can't you can't navigate dirt roads with snow and ice on them in a 2-wheel drive vehicle. It's just, and I have traction control. That was the when I try to buy a new vehicle. Well, it was many years old. I bought a used car, but anyway, I couldn't find anything with 4-wheel drive that was affordable. So I caved and I just got this car because it said traction control. And I thought, well, that's got to be better than nothing. Not really. It doesn't do anything. Traction control does nothing. It does nothing. And it's one of those things that the traction control doesn't have a switch. So it just goes on when it feels like it should. So stuck in that driveway spinning tires for an hour, the traction control didn't go on or do anything. It's really terrible, right? They need a tow truck to pull out a tow truck, yeah. No, I didn't hear from Rima Labo General Albert B's widow. No, I didn't. Right? And Mike says, you guys are making me cold. Yeah, I agree. Well, we're just over the 3-hour mark. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to have a world premiere music video tonight for my new song, Demons. And we'll be posting that publicly on our YouTube channel soon. But in the meantime, hey, I thought that you guys might enjoy this. It's completely and totally AI generated music video, operated and rendered and delivered to us by Sheila Aliens, who is much better at these AI programs than I am, even though I have a background in computer science, but I'm catching up to her. She's made another batch of videos that will be turning into another music video, a lot like this one that's AI generated. And then I have a few that I'm working on by myself without her assistance, but we want to thank her for showing me what an incredible artistic tool these AI video and image generators can be. I really think that this is cool. So that's all we got for you tonight, friends. I will be back tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern time, and maybe sooner if I get up early enough, because we've got a bunch of extra shows and I just want to bash them all out this week and get caught up. So we're going to have a hell of a week for shows here. Thank you all for joining us tonight. And thank you to you kind and generous benefactors, you Patreon supporters, you Twitch subscribers, you channel members, you super chatters, super sticker purchasers, especially you super thanks people who are on the replay crew, but still throw a couple bucks in our hat by hitting that thanks button. It really does help the show. Every little bit counts. And thank you to you PayPal supporters, Patreon supporters, all of you kind and generous benefactors. Thanks to our chat room moderators. Thanks to Spooky for the wonderful graphics. And thanks to Mr. Ian, the man with the golden voice, for doing our bumpers and announcements with us. So that's all we got for you, friends. I'll be back tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern time. We got a real fun show planned for you tomorrow. You definitely want to be here tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We will be here, and I hope you'll be here with us. Until next time, friends, my name is Stephen Cambion. Good night, and God bless all of you. And here's the world premiere of our music video, Demons.